Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi out here Saturday morning. It's All Star Saturday 2024. Indiana, baby. Yeah, let's go. All Star Scottie Barnes. Let's go. Let's go. All right, sorry, excuse my chewing. Uh, we're going to have a reaction stream today to the events last night, the new LED floor. Also, we're going to celebrate Scottie as an all-star. Share the Love Club. Gary Trent Jr. and Scottie Barnes at the end of the first year of Scottie's career. We're talking a lot about how everybody's so negative and so wrong out there that they need to share more love. There needs to be more love shared in this world. So we created something on this channel called the Share the Love Club. And today, this Saturday, we're sharing the love for All-Star Scottie. That's right, Scottie Barnes. We are proud of you. Raptors fans are proud of you for getting to the All-Star weekend this weekend, being selected as an All-Star. Scottie, it's awesome. We've seen a lot of content with Scottie released yesterday. There's a new open gym. There's some other news to talk about. So lots to cover today on the Raptor Freak stream. Let's get right to it. All right, let me see who's in the chat first, and we'll go. I'll let y'all lead me on the subject today. First, we've got the super fan Monique Lawrence, #1 super fan in Raptors Nation. Monique, the greatest. Let's see what she's saying this morning. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Let's go, Scottie. Tonight's your night. Just enjoy the weekend and come back focused. Congrats on getting a new dog, baby girl Cece. The new open gym episode, Scottie's new NBA 2K24 number. Wow. Monique is just like rapid fire cue cards for me right now to talk about. This is all fantastic stuff to bring up. And thank you, Monique, for bringing it all up. I love you. Thank you so much. First, yeah, Scottie got an update on his NBA 2K 24 rating. He is now, I believe, an 89, which is fantastic. A little bump up. Usually they do this during the course of the season for players that have shown improvement. And Scottie getting bumped up to an 89 on NBA 2K is a big deal. Trust me. Victor's gotten bumped up recently also, just so you know. So that's a sign of somebody's doing well with their season. If their rating in 2K is going up, let's just put it that way. If it's going down, that may be a bad thing. Maybe a bad thing if it's going down. There was a new open gym that came out yesterday. It focuses on the new Utah Jazz players that are on our team, Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji. And it's fantastic, really cool. More in-depth look at Kelly Olynyk and his ties to Toronto, growing up in Scarborough as a young kid. And there was all that same quotes that he said where I'm in my driveway and I'm playing basketball. When you're a kid in Scarborough, you pretend you're on the Raptors. That's how we know Kelly's a real one. Holy crap. When you're a 6-year-old kid and you're in your driveway and you're imagining that you're Doug Christie in the corner of your driveway hitting a 3 for the Raptors, that's a real one right there. So it is really cool to see Kelly's career come full circle after being on 5 other NBA teams most of his career: Boston, Miami, Utah, Houston, Detroit. Well, Toronto, hopefully final stop. That's what Kelly is saying he wants, is to retire as a Raptor at this point, make it all come full circle. Well, there are talks that he has an extension coming very soon. There is news out from Doug Smith saying this is basically what it is. The Raptors are reportedly nearing a multi-year extension with Kelly Olynyk ahead of his free agency this summer. That Kelly Olynyk will be sticking around Toronto, and it's reported that he will be signing back with them. He's in the final year of a 3-year, $37 million deal that he signed in 2021. He's set to become an unrestricted free agent this summer if he does not sign an extension. But he is conveying an interest in inking a long-term deal to remain in Toronto. And he said, I'd love to be here for the rest of my career. Hopefully that plays out. So it's expected that Kelly Olynyk will sign a 2-year deal with potentially a 3rd-year option. This is according to Doug Smith of the Toronto Star. So it's sounding like, this is the thing about Kelly. He's a vet. It's not like he's trying to go get these big, huge Siakam contract like this summer, like Siakam is. No. Kelly will get a good deal that's commiserate with his skills at his level and his veteran career. and he will get paid still good. Trust me, if he's making like 12 million a year or something like that, like he's making right now, it could be a very good deal for the Raptors also, as far as the skills and the veteran know-how and leadership of Kelly Olynyk for the price they pay. So we'll have to see how this goes. I hear that this is going to happen. It's imminent, and it's pretty for sure. I mean, that was something that they wouldn't have traded for him in the first place if this wasn't all kind of worked out already. I love this so much. I really do love the Canadian feel to the Raptors. There's so much about getting players with connections to our city that is smart. Whether it's RJ, whether it's Kelly, whether it's Gary Trent Jr., because Gary's dad played for the Raptors. There's a real connection that Gary Trent Jr. has towards our team because of his father's team time on our team also. So yeah, the real ones like that have real connections to our team, like the guys who are from here and the guys who had their dad who played here. Yeah, we want to keep these dudes on our team because they are really truly here with a passion and a heart to compete for our city. And I think that that's an important factor in the NBA. You play a little bit harder, RJ Barrett, in a black and red jersey than an orange and blue one, don't you, RJ? Just a little bit, just a smidge more, because it's his home country, his home city. That's right. That is right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Scottie today. Lots of pictures of Scottie traveling. He did get a new dog. In fact, I'll tell you guys about this. It's a post on his Instagram right now. We see a picture of him sitting there with Cardi, who's very big now. Cardi has gotten so big. That dog is huge. And what a great dog. I know that Scottie's got that dog for a couple reasons. And I hope that dog does a good job of giving you love, Scott, and also protecting you. And I'm sure that Cardi does. Well, the new dog is a little bit different. It looks like it's some sort of spaniel. It could be some sort of like a hyperallergenic dog. I'm not sure, but it's a fun dog. And I understand why Scott probably got a new dog, because it's good to get more than one dog. If he's away a lot and Cardi's by herself, Cardi's going to need a friend. And I think Cardi got a friend this week named Cece. Cece, yeah, Cici. His new baby girl, as he puts it on his Instagram. Jordan Wara says it's tough with the new dog, and the lifestyle that Scottie's living right now is fantastic. Lloyd, Scottie's friend. What about Lloyd? Is saying keep it going. Saying, what do you mean, Lloyd? Get more dogs? Is that what you mean, Lloyd? Or no? You mean keep going, like get that all-star and keep excelling and doing what you're doing, Scott. I think that's what he means. This is a really nice little photo package that Scottie posted on Instagram. First, we've got his two dogs, his two baby girls, Cardi and Cece. Cece looks so fun. Cece looks like one of those playful dogs. It's just kind of goofy, but also really fun and cute. That's what Cece looks like to me. And I hope that Cece and Cardi get along really well. I'm sure they will. Although, Cardi may be like, I'm the baby dog, Scottie. Who's this all of a sudden? I don't know. I just hope those dogs get along. I know Scottie's got access to obedience schools. So if there's any issues with Cece or Cece with Cardi, I'm sure they can iron it out with the people. Let's see. We got nice pictures in this photo set by Scott that he released. One with him going against OG in New York, tagging his friend Anunoby in the picture. It's kind of like he did a little reunion tour kind of thing, showing all of his friends and meeting up with them. There's him embracing Pascal the other night at the Indiana game after the game, and tagging Pascal as a friend in this picture. Then there's the picture of him getting the All-Star. Really, really cool. We're really, really proud of you, Scottie, getting your first All-Star selection. We know this is going to be the first of many to come. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to start some of these All-Star games in your career when they down the road. Trust me, you will. Then we see Scottie doing a crazy pose in the introduction lineup, and there's Dennis Smiling behind him and Garrett Temple. Yeah, he's doing like a walk like the Egyptian or a Karate Kid, like I'm a kick kind of move. I know he does like some sort of thing with Chris in the introduction line. That's what he was doing there. It's a cool picture. It's a very cool picture because he looks like Karate Kid. He's about to do a little kick at the end with Ralph Macchio. Then there's a picture of him hugging Precious before the New York game. So he's showing all of his old teammates and tagging them. And you know what? I take this post as being kind of like a homage, kind of a remembrance of like, these guys are my dudes. I love them. I always will. But you know what? I'm moving on. In some ways, I see this as a moving on post as far as like, I want to celebrate these dudes. There he is with Fred from last Friday with his arm around Fred. And like, what if Scottie hated Fred so much? Why is he posting him on his Instagram so many months after he left? He could be like, I don't have to talk to him. I don't have to do nothing with him. But the truth is out there, y'all. The Raptors, they did not hate each other last year as far as Freddie and Scottie. That was such bullshit made up by social media. And I'm sick of that crap. Like, the evidence is there. Look at how Scottie and Freddie's proud of Scott. Scottie is like still like looking up to Fred as a leader and a mentor in different ways, even though he's not on his team anymore. Y'all got to understand the truth about Fred VanVleet and Scottie Barnes. There's no beef. There's no problem. In fact, they're very good friends. So it's really silly. And then there's a picture of him in the hallway with Gary Trent Jr. in one of the pictures. And Chris has got, Scottie's got a really interesting shirt on. It's the one that it said, compare yourself to the person you were yesterday instead of some internet bum. That's right. You're only in competition with yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. And you don't need to be going out there and trying to compare yourself to other people. Just do your own path and you will be good. Your achievements are your own, and your life and your obstacles are your own. You don't need to be comparing yourself to other people and where they're at. Fuck that. You are your own self and you have your own path, and not everybody knows your whole path. So they don't need to know what's going on. Exactly. But I love that. I love that shirt. And I love seeing that he included Gary in one of the pictures with him. And then the last picture is of baby Cece. That dog is very small, I have to say. It's definitely a puppy, and it's probably been causing some puppy problems for Scottie for a little bit. Well, it's good that he's got most of this week off, although he'll be in Indianapolis for the next couple of days for sure, but he'll have a couple of days off when he comes back on Monday. But yeah, it's cool to see Scott get on the plane yesterday, open gym, capturing the moment. It looks like the weather's worse in Indiana. It's like when he got out the plane, there's like snow all around him. And the images from yesterday, I'm like trying to figure out, is that at Pearson or is that in Indiana as well? It was in Indiana. It looked like they got way more snow dumped on them yesterday than here in Toronto, and the weather's nicer here in Canada. That's kind of interesting to me that it's another NBA All-Star weekend that's full of cold and snow, kind of like ours way back in 2016. That, it's just not the best weather in Indiana this weekend. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, really cool to see Scottie on his way to the All-Star weekend. Of course, today he's participating in the skills challenge with the team All-Star. His teammates are Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young. That's going to be fun. And Scottie has said that he's going for revenge, that he needs revenge for the bad showing his rookie year in the skills challenge when he could not make a shot in the lane. In fact, that was very comical. He was the butt of jokes for it for a little bit there. Some people have forgotten about it, but well, this is the kind of daringness that Scott has. He could have just been like, I'm never doing that skills challenge again, because honestly, I looked bad while I was doing it. Well, he's trying to come back for revenge, is what he said. He's coming back to master it and defeat it and win it. The competition's a little stiff. Team Indiana, team first pick in the draft against Team All-Star. So we're rooting for you, Scott, Tyrese, and Trae Young. Very interesting group to be rooting for as a Raptor fan. But hey, we'll do it. Scottie did a very cool interview yesterday. This is what Monique's saying next. Scottie gaming with Queasy. I think it's Quezzy. I'm not sure. Congrats to VC, likely Hall of Fame. Yeah, there's a couple of things that happened yesterday. There's a lot going on, and Monique just power packs it all right there. That clip with Scottie gaming with Quezzy is amazing. It's almost a half an hour. They're playing 2K against each other, both as the Raptors, which is cool, if not confusing. But they bet a steak dinner, a very expensive steak dinner. In fact, Scottie's saying, I'm going to win, and I'm going to get a steak that's not on the menu. Special menu from this really expensive, I think it's Cactus Club they're talking about or something. We're going to go to Cactus Club, and I'm going to get a steak off menu. Yeah, when I beat you, bro. And the guy's like, you're not going to beat me, man. I'm having to do two things at once, interview and play. And Scottie's like, I have to answer and play also. So it's not like it's hard for you. It's hard for me, too. I have to think when I answer. He's saying stuff like that. It's hilarious. Yeah, Scottie let a lot out during this off-the-cuff interview playing video games. Said stuff like, I never go to LCBO. And he also said, He said he does go to clubs. That surprised me. He admitted that he does go to clubs sometimes, very high-end clubs, and he's not there to drink or party or do anything. He just goes there to be out and kind of hang out with friends, I'm sure. He said that he went to a Serbian party on this clip by accident or something. I don't know. Maybe weren't you there with Darko? You were going there with Darko or something? And he only stayed for like 5 minutes, he said. But this clip with Kwesi is very informative and very, kind of informal. So it's very interesting to see Scottie with his guard down. He talks about Scottie Barnes' Twitch family a lot, y'all. He talks about how he really does love streaming and hanging out with us, and he loves interacting with us. It's just that he can't do it while he's losing. I was exactly right. I said this before when he tried to stream during the season and his after his rookie year, his second year, when they were losing. There's no way he can be streaming on there with people talking trash to him or all kinds of crap. He's too easy to target. So that is a big part of why he isn't on during the season, is the losing or like dealing with the public when that's going on. But it sounds like Scottie really does have the intention to come back to Twitch regularly this summer and interact with us. He very specifically said he really loves interacting with the fans on Twitch and the people that he's interacted with over the years while he's doing his stream. So Scottie Barnes Twitch family, be proud. Scottie misses us, and he would do it with us more if the team was being more successful. Let's just put it that way. He had a lot of interesting things to say. He has a really interesting mindset about things. He's got the right mindset. He is really a team first guy, and he really is about winning and building towards winning. He understands there's going to be some failure and losing and tough times, but it's just part of what hardens you to get ready for the success. And he's doing it the right way. He has the right attitude about things. This is how I'm sharing the love for Scott today. I'm proud of you, man, because you are honestly dealing with things in a very mature way. Your first season was a little bit like, oh, man. And even when you were on Twitch, I was like, man, don't be eating this crap, this food you're eating on your Twitch stream. I know you're not eating right. Well, what did he say against talking to Kwesi in that clip yesterday? Well, the last couple of years, I've been eating more correctly. I've been eating more healthy and taking care of myself. Thank God. And that's probably part of the jump that you made, Scott, is nutrition. If you just ate a little bit better and slept a little better and took care of yourself a little better and all the stuff that they've been telling you, and you're listening and you're doing it and you're getting good results, hey, keep going in that direction. That's what I'm saying. You are what you eat. It's as basic as that. If you're going to eat junk, you're going to be junk. If you want to eat really good food, you're going to be really good. But yeah, some of that stuff was revealed in the interviews that were released yesterday. Lots of good Scottie content right now around his all-star appearance this weekend. Lots of good stuff. In fact, he was caught on a driving range late last night. A little reminiscent of the scene of OG's Gritty that was unwarranted. Yeah, last summer when they went to the driving range and they were hitting golf balls out. It's interesting because they were at a snowy driving range last night with the snow all over the ground out there in Indiana. Very much snow-covered ground there. Yeah, Vince Carter announced as a finalist for the Hall of Fame induction this season or this year. He's going to get it. You're right, Monique. It is likely that Vince Carter will be a Hall of Famer by the end of this year. It's, on the merits of longevity, honestly. Maybe a bit about the slam dunk achievements of him, but it's definitely not about winning. That's for sure. It's about longevity. He is the longest tenured NBA player ever in the history of the NBA. He played 22 seasons. It's the most seasons anybody ever played in the NBA, Vince Carter. So he has achievements that should be recognized, and he is an all-star in my book. If not that I am not that thrilled with him, or he's not my favorite former Raptor, I will admit he's a Hall of Famer, and he is the greatest dunker of the whole entire history of the NBA. So we need to honor Vince at least at the league level as a Hall of Famer. A lot of people talking a lot about jersey retirement schedules with our jerseys in our arena. And I'm going to tell you right now, I still don't have any kind of desire to retire number 15 for Vince Carter. He can be in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason why the Raptors need to honor Vince in that kind of way. I've said it very much before. If y'all really want something special to remind us of the Air Canada effect and Vince Carter's effect on our team, we need to put a statue out front of one of his iconic dunks and just do that. I don't want to retire his number. In some ways, I do understand the cultural effect of Vince Carter on the country of Canada and what we're reaping with such great Canadian players at this point, partly because of Vince being a hero to these people. But once again, the way he left our team and everything he's done ever since he's left the Raptors has been anti-Raptors. And in a lot of ways, I don't celebrate people that don't embrace their alumni roots with the Toronto Raptors franchise. Vince, if you want to get your jersey retired in the Raptors arena, you need to be more like the JYD. You need to be more like Muggsy. You need to be more like Alvin Williams. You need to be more like the guys who are still connected to our team that were from your period, and less like I'm a New Jersey Nets alumni or a Orlando Magic alumni. That's the big problem here is you are centered your alumni-ness around the Magic. You're way more a Magic or a Nets alumni than a Raptors alumni. So why the fuck do you expect us to retire your jersey, bro? Seriously. Seriously, why do you respect that? You know we're going to retire Kyle first, no matter what. Number 7 will go up in our rafters first. Kyle Lowry deserves to be the first jersey retired. Some people will argue, who's the next one? Well, if it's me, it's DeMar. It'll be Kyle, then DeMar, and then maybe, Siakam or Van Vliet. I don't want to retire Vince's number. 15 should not be retired in the Raptors. Seriously, y'all. That you retire a number for somebody who's very much honored and in good standing for your team. And Vince Carter is not that, is what I will say to people. Cowboys here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. Micah Parsons dropped 37 points. Gonna watch the highlights later. Let's go, Cowboy. Let's go, Scottie. That's right, Canadian Cowboy. Good to see you, man. Yeah, your guy from the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, was playing in last night's celebrity game, Ruffles celebrity game, and there were some jokes made at his behest about being a Cowboy and not used to winning very much. Yeah, there was some mean people towards your team in the NFL on the broadcast talking trash. Cowboy haters. Yeah, you know how it is, Cowboy. Yeah, it was fun. That court is fire, literally. Holy crap. Did y'all watch that Ruffles All-Star celebrity game last night? Yeah, I was actually really impressed with the level of play by the players in the game. There were some really good hoopers in those celebrities. They had that trick shot guy out there, and he was goofy. Jass or something. His last name's Jass, and he was actually really good in the game. He was one of the leading scorers, the trick shot YouTuber. But yeah, it was interesting to see people like Jennifer Hudson and who else was out there? Like Meta World Peace looked really overweight. It was a fun game. It was not very serious. They used that celebrity game to test a whole lot of different things out. The court looked amazing. The court was the star of that game. The way they could change the images on the court, like at different times, was phenomenal. And I really liked it. I think that it really is going to be a cool thing down the road when the NBA has LED courts more regular, like around the whole league, and they're incorporated in the NBA product. I think that the look of it being so video game-ish and just kind of enhancing the whole look, like the little flame paths after players, and then the idea of like different mini games that they could do. Like they were doing this halftime game where 3 guys would like go to star spots, and if they made the shot, it stayed on the court. And then as they made shots on the stars, the parts of the court were catching fire all around them. It just looked so visually appealing. I don't feel like it was a total distraction to the players. I feel like they were playing pretty good. You heard the court that it still squeaks and has the sneaker sounds just like a regular NBA court. I think it was a huge success. I think most people that watched that court enjoyed it and thought it was really, really cool. Unfortunately, the game on Sunday will not be played on that court. They played the Rising Stars game in the other arena with a regular court. So it's only certain events this weekend are on the LED court. And the ones tonight are. That's the interesting thing. The three-point shootout, the dunk championship, all that stuff will be on the enhanced court tonight. But the All-Star game and the stuff tomorrow will not be. So that's unfortunate. But it's really cool. Like there was really weird stuff they were doing. Like one of the things they did in one of the quarters was they moved the lines. Like they had the 4-point Ruffles line, which is interesting in itself. that they're experimenting with a 4-point line that's a little bit further out than the 3. But they did a thing in the third quarter where they moved the lines back and forth where it shifted. So you could be in a position where you were shooting a closer 3 for the same amount of points. I mean, they were doing goofy stuff like they could put Shannon Sharp or Stephen A. Smith's heads as the coaches on the court. And if you got to that spot and shot on that spot at that time, you got extra points while it was still there. But it would be like a temporary spot on the court and it would disappear. There were all kinds of cool things they were doing with the court visually, with interacting and making it a game about it in the game. Very, very cool stuff. That court was a huge success in my eyes. And it really does show a future idea for what the NBA might look like in the years to come with an interactive court like that. Wow. Wow. I thought it was really, really awesome. Yeah. I believe that Shannon Sharp's team won last night. Yeah. The team that I had picked to win the celebrity game did end up winning. The one with Jewel Lloyd and 50 Cent as the coach with Shannon Sharp. Yeah, it was a goofy game. Somebody, like I said, these aren't celebrities. Most of them are not. Most of them are not. I don't know who half these people are. They're not celebrities. And the young people are like, well, everybody was celebrities. Nah, I don't know. I don't know about that. If they're all really celebrities. Come on now. Come on now. All right, let's see what else you guys are talking about in the comments here. Dana's here. Good to see Canadian Dana. First things, share the love, club. Dana, share the love for Scottie All-Star. That's right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is having a good long weekend. Let's go, Scottie. Long weekend, baby. Let's get out there and have a good time. Let's go, Scottie. Let's go, Scottie. And Mo is reminding us Kelly Olynyk's new extension is coming soon. That's right. Cowboys saying good morning to Superfan. And Cowboys getting love to Mo. And alley-oop to Monique. That's right. We'll do that. Let's give Monique a dunk for today for her information and diligent and making sure we cover all the topics. I appreciate you, Mo, so much. I'm going to share some love for you, Monique, the Superfan Lawrence. Yeah. Let's see. Cowboy saying good morning, Dana. Everyone slam dunk that like button. I appreciate that, Cowboy. Chris is here. Let's see what Chris is saying this morning. Maybe he's got some opinions on the events of last night and see what he's saying. I watched highlights, and that LED court is crazy cool, but they better not ruin the game and go for the gimmicks. Also, Mathurin talking smack to Jaden Ivey was classic stuff. Laugh out loud. Go Canada. Yeah, they wrote it really well that the Indiana guy won the Rising Stars Challenge MVP. I thought that was really interesting challenge. Holy cow. Pau Gasol's team did not do well last night. I was picking them to win, the team with Victor on it. And the G League guys came out and kicked their butt. Holy crap, they kicked their butt. These guys had something to prove. These guys took that brass ring that gets put in front of you of opportunities sometimes. They say, look, you're going to have all these cameras on you. You're playing a 7'5" Frenchman. Everybody's going to be watching you. Everybody. Well, let's go make our names. This is what these guys were thinking. And in particular, the kid from Lithuania looked really good. Bezelis. That guy is going to be a good NBA player. He's a sure shot. And the way he played in that Panini Rising Stars Challenge, he's good. If anybody came out of that whole thing looking really good, it's that Bezelis kid on the G League Ignite. He's going to be somebody good to draft this year. Let's just put it that way. He's got almost 7 foot height, and he is a shooter. Holy cow, that kid. And he has some competitive spirit in him. I can tell from the way he was trying to take Victor to school, and he beat Victor. He beat Victor with his team. Mac McClung, the little point guard, Osceola Magic, and the rest of that team. In fact, they had Amani Bates, and they had one of the guys that we just played against the Pacers on Wednesday, Shibwe. Yeah, they had a very strong Indiana contingency. And the Panini Rising Stars with the MVP, Ben Mathurin, winning it at the end. Yeah, I was surprised Team Jalen won. They kind of fluked to it. Tamika's team didn't start well, and Jalen won the first game. And then, like we said, there was an upset in the second game when Team Detlef beat Team Pau, the G League team beating Victor's team. In some ways, this is reminiscent of Victor's whole year. Everybody expects so much from Victor and the phenomena and the presence of him. But in some ways, it has not added up to winning Victor Wembanyama this season with 11 wins only for the Spurs. So in some ways, it makes kind of sense that he loses at the Rising Stars. A lot of people are saying this is the time of losing around Victor. Before next, it's going to be only winning for him. So enjoy these times now while Victor's green as a green banana. When he ripens, look out. It's going to be game over for a lot of the league. That's the scary thing. There's footage before the game. Victor Wembanyama getting tips from Jamal Crawford, the great six-man and analyst on TV now, teaching him more like juke moves and kind of ball handling tricks that he can do at 7'5". And so the caption said, Jamal Crawford, please stop teaching Victor your moves because we want the league to have a chance. I mean, that is true. Jamal Crawford was filthy on the court with his ball handling and some of the moves. He's like, don't teach him some of your proprietary shit. Seriously, we don't need Victor being that overpowering. Come on, Jamal. But yeah, very interesting outcome to the Panini Rising Stars Challenge with Ben Mathurin winning MVP and Team Jalen Rose winning. Team Jalen Rose. It's good to see Detlef Schrempf out there. We forget about Detlef Schrempf and the whole history of the NBA. He's a 3-time All-Star. And it's interesting that George Karl took to Twitter during the game last night with Detlef on TV and said, now it's time to revisit Detlef Schrempf in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So he is advocating for Detlef to get a spot in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, Coach Karl. That may be a bit of a stretch putting Detlef Schrempf in the Hall of Fame, but I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. He hasn't gotten in by now. It's not likely. But George Karl is advocating for it. That's for sure. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Chris is also saying Mathurin trash talked with the score of 32-26. Even the Rising Stars game, you can't guard me, he told Ivy. Ivy was pissed. Then he placed a $25,000 bet on a free throw with Banchero. Classic. Wow, these are some insider stories. I didn't know any of this stuff, Chris. Hilarious. Good stuff. Benedict Mathurin, thank you for representing the country of Canada, the city of Montreal, and fantastic stuff, young man, taking home that MVP of the Panini Rising Stars Challenge. In some ways, it's a real accomplishment considering some of the names that were competing on the 4 teams that you were competing on and with, that you rose to the occasion. In some ways, the NBA always loves a hometown story come true, and you played very well, and the Indiana consideration was very much a factor. Let's just put it that way. Trevor J's here. He said, good morning, Raptors family. I love the new All-Stars court. Yeah, we'll see it again tonight, but we won't see it tomorrow. It'll be fun tonight for the different challenges. This is the schedule for tonight, guys, just so you know. Today at 11, they're having the All-Star practice with all of the All-Stars. So Scottie will be there at 11 a.m. practicing with all the rest of the guys on the Eastern team to go up against the West, the way it should be in the All-Star game. No more of this schoolhouse picking bullshit. At 2 p.m., they have the historically black college, historically black university classic presented by AT&T. It will be Winston-Salem State versus Virginia Union, the alma mater of Charles Oakley. So very interesting. That game will be played. And then Commissioner Adam Silver will give a news conference today at 7 p.m. about the state of the NBA and all that kind of stuff. And then at 8, we'll have this All-Star Saturday night, starting off with the Kia Skills Challenge, which is a team challenge game. And the competitive teams are, there's an Indiana Pacers team with Tyrese Halliburton, Ben Mathurin, and Miles Turner. There's a top picks with Paolo Banchero, Anthony Edwards, and Victor Wembanyama. Those guys are all number 1 picks in the draft. And then Team All-Stars, Scottie Barnes, Tyrese Maxey, and Trae Young. So they will have the skills challenge first. Halliburton saying last night on the broadcast that he wishes that it was the old school skills challenge where it's just individuals and they have the tires and you run the cones and all that kind of stuff. In some ways, the team-oriented one is not the one he exactly likes to do, but he's going to do it anyway. So hopefully Scottie, Tyrese, and Trae can get their act together and have a really, really good showing in this competition. I'd like to see it. Trae Young and Scottie, the 2 replacement All-Stars on the East side. So in some ways, they have maybe something to prove. Now, I think that Scottie, on his release from yesterday with Kweezy playing the video games, he said, who are the tough guys to guard that you've had to guard in the last year? And he named a couple guys. He named Zion last year. He was talking about having to guard Trae Young recently in Atlanta, saying that Trae Young is very hard to guard also. So he gave a compliment to his teammate today in the skills challenge that he's one of the toughest guards in the league. And his threes, well, you got to catch him real early, right at half court, or he's going to be bombing if you give him any room. So yeah, Scott respects Trae Young's game and what he does. Well, he's on your team tonight for the skills challenge, my man. So yeah, of course, I'm rooting for Team All Stars in that skills challenge tonight, the first event of the Saturday night events tonight. Yeah, that top picks team is interesting with Victor and in the skills challenge. We'll have to see how Victor does and those kind of things. But I really hope the Team All Star wins. We'll have to see what happens. The next competition will be the 3-point shootout. That will be with 8 competitors, including the champion Damian Lillard of the Milwaukee Bucks, coming back to defend his title. And the 8 shooters are Malik Beasley of the Bucks, also Jalen Brunson of the Knicks, Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers, Lauri Markkanen of the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell of the Cavs, Karl Anthony Towns of the Timberwolves, and Trae Young once again of the Atlanta Hawks. So Tyrese Halliburton and Trae Young doing double duty in both of the competitions tonight right away at the beginning. Now, if I'm going to pick somebody that I think will win in this thing, I'm not going to pick Dame Lillard. It's definitely not his year. For some reason, I think, well, maybe he might be tired, though. They might try and make it a hometown thing. If Halliburton can catch fire, it could be Halliburton. I don't know. I think it'll be one of those two guys, either Halliburton or Trae Young, that wins the 3-point shootout. Now, Karl Anthony Towns has won this before as a center. So don't count out that big man, even though usually you don't think big men are going to do well in the 3-point shootout. I believe he's won this competition before in the past. So should be pretty interesting. If there's somebody that I have a favorite that I would like to win out of these guys, I mean, I guess I'd go for the hometown guy, Tyrese. That would probably make Siakam happy. So I'll say Halliburton. In some ways, I'm kind of going for the hometown guy out of all those guys. So, yeah, that's the 3-point shootout tonight. Then they're going to have that special 3-point challenge between Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu. That will be very interesting and exciting to see that. Steph's not in the 3-point shootout, but he's going to do this special shootout just with Sabrina, and it's for charity. It's a fantastic thing all around for the S120 Foundation. Yeah, good stuff. I'm very, very excited about the WNBA versus NBA challenge. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, the final enchilada, the main event of the night. In some ways, it's not always the main event. Sometimes it's the lame event. And the main event was the 3-point shootout. That seems to happen. Well, Jaylen Brown has a campaign to make the dunk competition better. As a top star and an all-star, he is going to be in this dunk competition, reminiscent of the old school when we had good guys in it. It's so crazy. The field is only 4 guys at this point. I remember when the dunk competition was like 8 competitors, and there was a lot of it. There would be a long competition. Well, they've really shortened it up for time and really squeezing all the starry juice out of it with the advertising. So, yeah, the 4 competitors are the aforementioned Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, defending champion Mac McClung of the Osceola Magic of the G League, and Jaime Jaquez Jr., the rookie from Miami, and Jacob Toppin of the New York Knicks. Not even Obi. It's his brother, Jacob. So that's an interesting field. Once again, it's not the most exciting names. Jaylen Brown, I appreciate what you're doing, but you need to get at least one of your friends to come and compete with you also. Maybe you could have talked to OG. Maybe we could have gotten OG Anunoby in it instead, but no, OG doesn't want to do it. The judges for the competition tonight, they always have pretty good judges for the slam dunk competition. I like to look at them. They've got Dominique Wilkins. That's a pretty knowledgeable dunk competition judge. Gary Payton. Okay, that's a good one. He's done it before. Mitch Richmond, unsung old school great Mitch Richmond. We don't hear his name enough around circles for greatness. Fred Jones, former Raptor and former Pacers dunk champion. Fred Jones will be judging. That makes sense. Fred Jones is a great dunker. former Raptor, former Pacer, Fred Jones. Darnell Hillman is the other one. Darnell Hillman, of course, a way old school player from way back in the day. Yeah, that's pretty cool to see him on the judges panel also. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of an overview of tonight's events. Of course, all these events tonight, pretty much, except for the All-Star practice and the historically Black University Classic, are going to be on the LED court. So yeah, all the Saturday night events, the shootouts, the dunk competition, they will all be on the fantastic, crazy pinball looking LED court. So be ready for that action tonight. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. G's here. Good to see G. Scottie's post was so wholesome, recognizing his friends and former teammates. His new dog is so cute. Yeah, it's a cute little spaniel. I'll bet you it would get his slippers. You say, get my slippers. See, and Cece will go and run and get Scottie's slippers. Scottie really is in a good place, man. I can read his energy right now, and he's liking the new responsibility. He's liking things kind of being a little bit more around him, but at the same time, he understands the responsibility and he doesn't take it lightly. He's not like going into this whole new era of where he is as a franchise player with his eyes closed and just kind of soaking up all the goodness of it. No, he knows he has to work. He knows he has a lot to do and he has a lot to prove. So I like that. Scott's going about his business in a very smart way. And I appreciate you. We're sharing the love for Scottie today. Scottie All-Star. That's what we're talking about today. That's right. Trevor's saying, excited to see Scottie play his first All-Star game tomorrow. I will be in the house. Let's go, Scottie. That's right. Trevor J., our commissioner of fun, will be in the arena in Indiana for the All-Star game tomorrow. So we'll have representation of our Raptor Freak family in the building. I heard that, Trevor, you got the All-Star Scottie jerseys, so you'll be ready to represent our guy at the game in a fantastic new Scottie Barnes All-Star jersey. Fantastic stuff, Trevor. I'm so happy you're going to be there, man. All-Star Scottie, let's go. James is here. He's celebrating Scottie on blast in the chat with the emotes. 3 Scotties in a row there. 3 All-Star Scottie Barnes. That's right. Scottie Barnes, dunk. Wow. Yeah, we're going to see that tomorrow. We're going to see that. I'm excited about it. I hope that they give him good minutes. Doc, you're going to be the coach begrudgingly. Don't put Scottie in for 5 minutes or 2 minutes and that's it. He just gets that first taste. No, he's a good player, Doc. So let Scottie get some run tomorrow. Don't hold him out as a first-time All-Star, an injury replacement. Sometimes this happens where these guys who get added late don't get really a lot of time on the court. Don't do that to Scottie. Let him play, Doc. You know that you love Scottie Barnes. You think he's a great talent. So get him out there. And I'm already politicking for him to get more minutes in the All-Star game for tomorrow. So Doc Rivers, strongly consider playing Scottie for a good amount of time in the All-Star game. We will all get entertained and be celebrated for it because you get to see amazing things he does in the game. And that's what the All-Star game is all about. So you better play Scottie is what I'm saying, Doc. Fiercely saying, where was Scottie before number 89? Where was Scottie before number 89? What do you mean number 89? I don't even know what that means. Where was Scottie before number 89? I don't know. Elaborate, Fiercey. Elaborate, please. Fiercey's also saying, good morning, fam, and happy Saturday. Let's share the love for our number 4. I love it. Love all the hearts. Fiercey saw Sarah, Scottie Barnes, Twitch family. That's right. Fiercey was there in the Twitch streams with Scottie, talking to him just like I was, and Country Kong and Tom Duke and Isaac Campbell. Scottie Barnes, Twitch family, cool cat. That's right. We were all in there talking to Scottie for the whole summer and becoming friends with him. M. Jones is saying, how about that VC? No denying he was an integral part of putting Raps in the map, and glad to see the league loved him like we did. By the way, last minute, he wanted to stay, so everything else is subjective. Yeah, but no. Yes, but no. I know that people will stand up for Vince against me, but I am not buying it. I know exactly how everything happened. Yeah, in some ways, listen, he may have had good intentions, but he let everything around him get out of control. In some ways, he had more control of his life than he was acting, and he let his mom run his life. And his mom kind of messed things up with the Raptors. So, he may have had good intentions himself, but he did not proactively do things in his career to try and help things. Now, I understand the argument. Everybody's saying the front office mismanaged this team. I get all that. But it still wasn't necessary for him to admit that he did not try in his last year with us. We can go over this every single time. It doesn't change. Raptors on purpose. And that's a huge, huge cardinal sin. And any good Raptor fan can't accept that. I'm sorry. In some ways, if he did it, that's fine, but he didn't need to tell the press. And when he came out to the press and said that he didn't try hard when he was on the Raptors, that was disrespectful to our franchise. Because the guy who built up our franchise and made it put on the map turned around and slapped it down again, saying we weren't worth him playing hard for in the end. And that really made people disrespect us more when he left. There's a reason why it was a very, very dark time when Vince Carter was traded to the Nets for a couple guys named Williams and Alonzo Mourning. There's a reason why it was dark, partly because people started shitting on us left and right and treating us like a second-class citizen in the league as a team in all kinds of different ways. And Vince was a big catalyst and reason for that. As much as he helped young kids in Canada dream about becoming basketball stars, which was fantastic, he also made us the laughing stock in the league and put us down. And ever since, he's been on U.S. broadcasting, slighting us in little underhanded ways, left and right. This is why I do not celebrate the legacy of Vince Carter. This is why I do not like her. He's tarnished. And I have my very good reasons for it. Some people are going to be like, well, let's let it all go, or it's all subjective. No, it's not. Because I hear him to this day on ESPN airwaves and other airwaves in the States putting down the Raptors and Toronto on the regular. He is like Sam Mitchell on the other side of the border. So no. And the other thing is, how often does he come back to our arena and wave to everybody? I think he's came back twice ever. Like since he's retired, he comes back as a broadcaster and he sits at the court, but we don't really deal with him like we deal with people like Muggsy or JYD or Charles Oakley even. You know, these guys are alumni in good standing that come and support our team and show that they're Raptors alumni. Vince does not like being associated with the Toronto Raptors. You can tell that. So why the fuck should we honor him if he doesn't want to be a part of our history, really? He kind of turned his back and shat on his history with us. And in some ways, you get what you get from that. Real ones like me, they don't celebrate him. They don't celebrate him. And that's where I'm at with him, at least. I think it's great that he's going to the Hall of Fame. He deserves that. He deserves that. Stuff with us, yeah. He's intimating he wants us to retire his jersey because of Shaq's retired jersey. Yeah, keep holding your breath. You're not going to get it. Watch. If he does, he gets it. He's not going to get it till after Kyle. I know that. Nameless is saying, I love you, Scottie. You're my hero. Regardless of what these stupid fuckers say, try and recruit some all-stars to play with barbecue in Toronto. Yeah, I don't want him to do that. I don't. I mean, if he has friends that he talks to and they you know, we don't want any of this kind of bullshit happening. Either way, like him trying to recruit people or that. We don't need that shit. Players don't need to be recruiting each other. That's a bad thing for the league, honestly. So, no, I'll disagree with this Nameless. Let's leave the recruiting up to Masai and Bobby and the scouting department. And let Scottie just go there as a player, enjoy himself, and say hi to his friends. He doesn't need to be trying to talk people into coming to Toronto, and vice versa. We don't need anybody trying to talk him into going somewhere else. So let's just say nobody doing this, and just enjoy the experience and going down there and stuff like that. So, you know, we're going to get good players. I mean, if we're going to get more Canadian players because they want to play here, that's a great thing. The crop of young, good Canadians is getting better and better. You can look around. You see Dyson Daniels, Shaden Sharp. No, not Dyson Daniels. Shaden Sharp, Leonard Miller. You know, there's so many good Canadians coming up. Zach Eddy. That, you know, the future's bright for people wanting to come and play for their hometown, Toronto. I think it's amazing that we've got two hometown guys on our team right now. They really do play for different reasons. Trevor's saying you may look, but you may not. You can look. Sometimes you got to look inward for peace. Sometimes you can find peace in a serene, babbling brook. That's a little random. Fiercely saying, if Kelly signs with us, it would be amazing. Yeah, that's what they're saying is going to happen, that it's a done deal. I was saying this a couple days ago, that Kelly didn't get traded here to like just come and leave in the summer as a free agent. It's all kind of been worked out. Well, if they do the extension taken care of ahead of time. Chris is saying, M. Jones, I think that's revisionist history. I remember what happened at the time. Vince ditched the team. Yeah. Yeah. In some ways, it's like, in some ways, he really wanted out. And his mother was a pain in the ass. Let's just put it that way. Michelle Carter was not helpful to the Raptors when she was here. She was very busybody, like pushy. And that's why Charles Oakley said she feels like she runs his team. And the way she was running around, because Vince was our franchise player, was very much a headache. She was a headache, just getting her hands in every decision with the team. She was trying to tell the GM how to trade people. This is just a real issue, real issue. That's why Charles Oakley said that the GM Rob Babcock's not running this team. So, listen, we can have different opinions on this. I was in the building working for the Raptors when Vince was here. I was Club 15 member. I was bought in. I was a huge fan of his. And well, that was a slap in the face of every Raptor fan. And the fact that we booed him for many years after that was rightfully justified. Now, when we cheered him near the end of his career to honor him, that was classy. But in some ways, I was waiting to see him retire. And I was saying, all right, I'll mend fences with Vince if he's better about how he broadcasts. And well, since he's retired, he's done just the stupidest, shittiest things he's been doing before that. As far as the way he talks about the Raptors in Toronto and Canada, he downgrades us. He gives us the discount that the NBA does silently. And he reinforces it. As somebody who is an icon of our franchise, he has a lot of Raptors. And when he puts us down, he shapes the perception about our team that is so unfair and fucked up. And that's part of the reason why I don't like the dude. Seriously. Is because he continues to be a negative person for our team. Still. Yeah, still to this point. Fiercely saying similar to the Jakob move when we traded from the comeback. Exactly. That's what we're doing with Kelly. Jakob was on the plan, was to re-sign him in the last summer, and we did. M. Jones saying still subjective in terms of reasoning for stuff. I know Doug Smith wrote an article and it got Vince in trouble at that time. And in some ways, Doug Smith felt bad and he did damage control for Vince. And that's part of his book, the We the North book. He writes about it in there. He fucked everything up, Doug Smith, the bastard. With his early reporting and speculative reporting, he made things kind of unravel with Vince in Toronto. So he's partly to blame for this too, is Doug Smith, for his bullshit. And that's part of the reason why he's such a stand for Vince since. Because he realized he shaped the fans' negative opinion of Vince, and he's trying to do damage control the other way. That's part of it. Doug Smith is a big fucking factor in the problem with Vince Carter, was Doug. And the things that he wrote and the period of time right around when he was leaving were very opaque, not totally clear, and kind of like he didn't help anything. Let's just put it. Dana's saying there's no such thing as a hypoallergenic dog. It just depends on whether they have hair or fur. Dogs with fur usually affect allergies. I'm just talking about partly because that dog that Scott just got looks just like a dog that my brother got in recent years. And I know that it's like a certain kind of dog that is not cause allergies for my mom. That's the big thing. They wanted to get a dog that wouldn't bother my mother if she came over to visit them. So that's the reason why I said that. It just looks like a water spaniel. And that is the dog that my brother got. And that dog doesn't shed or do certain things to cause allergies for people with pet allergies. That's the only reason why I say that. I don't think that there's all right. You're saying there's no such thing as a hypoallergenic dog. I don't know. I don't know what the correct term is. Whatever it is, it doesn't cause problems for my mother. Whereas other pets, cats and dogs usually do. And that's the only reason why I brought that up. And that dog looks like the exact same dog my brother has, Cece. Nameless is saying, if you MFers are thinking that deal was for Abaji and not Kelly, I have a bridge to sell you. No, I think it was for both of them. The open gym's very interesting to see them arriving. Of course, Kelly is so funny. You know, at one point they're trying to open his locker in the dressing room, and like the open gym's filming it, and Kelly's like, "No, don't film my locker getting opened with the combination." He's like, "Get out of your open gym." Scottie going to the airport saying, "Hey, open gym, you coming with me?" And it's like it's so much open gym footage coming out. Yeah, so much coming out all the time. It's good stuff. M. Jones is saying at Chris, remember, we are not privy to all the happenings behind the scenes, so we don't know, but we do know he loved the city and resigned for a reason to stay. Yeah, like early, but it all went to shit. And just M. Jones, listen to me about now. It's not even about what he did now. He's still doing damage to us right now. You can watch him down south, and seriously, you'll see it. You'll see it. He puts us down. He doesn't have any respect for us. He really doesn't. He puts us down all the time as a franchise. And it's just disgusting to me because he should be somebody, he's somebody that we should be able to honor with a clear conscience and feel fine with it, just like DeMar, just like Kyle. But it's not like that. He fucked his relationship up with our city. He really did. Some people are trying to say he didn't. And well, Doug Smith had a big factor in it, and he's trying to make up for it because he understands he fucked up his relationship with Toronto. Well, Doug Smith, is your fault, but Vince still acts like he's better than Canada. That's part of the problem. He's one of these American guys that discounts Canada. He always did. He looks down on us. He doesn't believe that Canada is equal to the U.S. He's got American exceptionalism propaganda in his head. And that's part of the reason why he turned his back on us. It's because it was the Canadian team. It's not an American team. And he's one of those guys. I just know. So, yeah, I don't know. We could talk about this too much. In some ways, I want to talk about Scott. I don't give a shit about Vince's Hall of Fame. That's great. I said I honor it. It's great. And he deserves it. But honestly, to talk about Vince Carter on a day when we should be talking about Scottie Barnes is a travesty. How about that? We shouldn't be talking about him so much. G saying, I never mentioned this before, but I actually knew Vince a bit. At that time, management didn't want to give his mom a parking spot and lots of petty stuff was happening. Front office is more family friendly now. Yeah, well, she was demanding it, apparently, is what I was hearing. Like there was the things that I heard was she was the one who's kind of being very pushy and trying to be like she was in the front office. So I don't know. There's probably two sides to every story, and we don't know which one is exactly true. I'm gonna believe Charles Oakley. That's who I'm gonna believe because I know Charles Oakley's no bullshit. And in some ways, if anybody's gonna say something about the issues with Vince's mom, I'm gonna listen to Charles because he's on. In some ways, he has no bias. He probably would love to love Vince's mom, but if Vince's mom was the problem, Charles said that Vince's mom was the problem. I'm gonna believe Charles. That's just what I got to say because I trust Charles Oakley. Let's just put it that way. Let's see. That's interesting, G, that you did know Vince a little bit there back in the day. Listen, I don't say that he's not a good guy. He's a nice guy. It's just that in some ways, growing up in Florida myself and seeing how they raise people down there to be conditioned to patriotism and all the bullshit that's programmed in young Americans about American idealism and being exceptional and being just everything in the world is the best in America, nowhere else. They really program young kids in America to look down on every other country in the world. And that's part of the problem. In some ways, Vince can say, like, oh, yeah, I love being in Canada and stuff like that. Canada's great. But he still has that American exceptionalism in his brain. Trust me. Scottie's different. Scottie can see the equality of Canada and the U.S. In fact, he's expressed it on Twitch. He says, I don't really see a difference between American people and Canadian people. We're all the same, and I have the same general love. See, there's some NBA players that are like this, that have a different idea about the two different places, you know? And Dame Lillard's one of those guys for sure. That's, part of the things he said this summer. Let's see. Fiercely saying, idiot over on the other YouTube channel is punching the air after seeing Scottie's post. Yeah. Yeah. That guy's a dumbass. Pictures with Freddie and Scottie, very happy. His whole entire YouTube career last year was a waste with his narrative of Freddie versus Scottie on that stupid ass Penn State basketball channel. Fiercely saying, nameless, depends where the bridge is located. I may buy it. Just kidding. We should give some time for Oshai. I do believe a bigger piece of that trade was Olynyk. I don't know. It really depends on Abaji's development that we get out of him coming here. In some ways, he hasn't really shown a whole lot from the Jazz, and he hasn't shown a whole lot since he's come here. But we got to give Darko a chance to work his magic. What about this? It just occurred to me that Abaji has a body type that's similar to Desmond Bane's. And that in some ways, the success that Darko Rajakovic had unlocking Desmond Bane in Memphis in his years with him, maybe he can replicate some of that with Abaji. And maybe he's a type of player that Darko really enjoys trying to develop, the 6'5" kind of strong big guard. It'd be interesting to see. But I mean, let's not make it about who we got him for, like Kelly versus Abaji. No, we got two players we were interested in having in that deal, and that was smart. That was a smart deal. Let's see. Chris is saying VC's mom, she seemed to be part of the issue, but VC is long gone, and really, who cares? Vince hasn't made any effort to be a part of the Raptors these days. He played for 8 teams. Tells you something. Yeah, I mean, listen, he comes to Toronto. He was here just recently, and he does broadcasts all the time. Like he did one with Grant Hill earlier this season, and they were on the other side of the court away from the regular broadcast. He comes to Toronto, and in some ways, we should honor him better whenever he comes through, but we don't, because in some ways, he's a lightning rod. There's a lot of fans that are like me still. A lot of us have forgiven him. A lot of us treat him like a god and idolize him. And I'm not saying any of it's wrong. I think that if y'all are allowed to idolize him and think that he's great, I should be allowed to be the other way, just in case. It's a free country. I'm not going to get mad at people for loving Vince Carter or like really wanting to, being a big fan of him. But at the same token, y'all should allow for me to be not a fan of him at the same time. So that's just the way I look at it. It's a case by case basis. Vince himself knows this, that there's different Raptors fans, some that accept him and love him, and some that are like me, that are kind of like, yeah, I'm not really proud of you in our history, other than the accomplishments you made early in your career as a rookie of the year and the dunk competition and the playoff stuff you did. But near the end of your career in the Raptors is tarnished. And the fact that you came back and killed us in the playoffs with the Nets and played so much better immediately after you left, yeah, that's unforgivable in some ways. In some ways, that cardinal sin is the worst cardinal sin you can commit as a basketball player, is to admit that you didn't try on purpose and then laugh about it and think it's not a big deal because the team you did it for is not that important in the eyes of the NBA, and your eyes either, even though you just gave your career, your time, and your years to that city. You did not respect it. You mishandled it, is what I'm saying. These guys that are on our team these days, they get it. These guys are leaving in good standing. The last really bad leaving was Goran Dragic ever for the Raptors. Hey, that's great. Chris Bosh, same kind of thing. Where you leave somewhere is important. If you really want to get your jersey retired and get any accolades later, you better take care of that relationship. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, he's dropped the ball. Monique is saying our in-area host is doing all the all-star shenanigans, Mariah Amber. That's right. I saw the other day at the game that Strizzy was honoring Mariah by saying, you're going to the All-Star. That's right. Our in-game arena ops, Mariah Amber, is going to be the host of the All-Star festivities this weekend in the same kind of way in the arena. So in some ways, she's an all-star at her job. Out of all the 30 teams, she is going to the arena to be a part of the All-Star weekend. It is a huge accomplishment. And there's some things that we should talk about on the Raptor Freak channel, because that's how in-depth we are. That Mariah Amber is going to the All-Star weekend. She's an all-star for our Raptors in-game ops crew. Strizzy's not going, but she is. She's going. And he honored her with it. It was awesome. James is saying Trey Mann is playing good for Charlotte. We could had him for a cheap potential Trent replacement. I went and picked him up on my fantasy team immediately after that trade, and he is killing it for me. Really, really smart move by me, getting Trey Mann's bump for being on the Hornets. The Hornets are a totally different team now. In fact, they're winning all of a sudden. They've got Grant Williams on them now all of a sudden, and Seth Curry. And Seth Curry's wearing the 30 that his dad used to wear. We're really getting into the old Raptors today. Del Curry, number 30 for Charlotte, is an iconic thing. It's retired, I believe. Well, it's allowed for his son to wear it, apparently. I bet you they do a special allowances where they say, yeah, the number may be retired for Dell, but you're his son. You can wear it. Curry in a number 30 Charlotte Hornets jersey, that's just old school as hell. That's a legacy right there. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not woulda, coulda, shoulda doing things like that, James. Trey Mann got traded to the Hornets. I don't know how we could have gotten him. Was he bought out and bought that way? I thought he was traded. In some ways, that's a different kind of acquisition than being bought out and just being on the buyout market. and got that way. No, I don't think we could have gotten him. That's a trade. That was a trade that was done where he went from Oklahoma City to uh, Charlotte. So M. Jones is saying he stuck up for the city when I believe I can't remember, but they were trying to clown the city. Oh, it's Broussard. Chris Broussard said something about Toronto, and a lot of people came out and stood up for us. Tracy McGrady also. But yeah, I appreciated that about Vince saying that. That was fair. But you've got to understand, there were many years like recently where he would say things like Toronto's so cold. He says shit like that on American broadcasting still to this day. You have to watch him on ESPN when he's doing color commentary. He slights us just like the other broadcasters down there. And in some ways, I get it when the other people do it because they don't really have ties to Toronto. But when somebody who's an icon and should be a part of our history, they're very honored, when he's slighting us in this country and our city in underhanded ways, seriously, like it's really where they talk about how the Raptors are not a good franchise. They really act like we're not a good franchise, which has not been true over the last 15 years. We've had a very good franchise since Masai showed up. And I just feel like they still like want the perception to sound bad. Vince reinforces the perception that the Raptors are a have-not franchise in this league. You just have to listen to him very closely, and you'll hear it at some time. At point, he'll make a comment, and it's just not supportive or very honoring us. It's like putting us down. Honestly, I try and listen to him, and he says something and it pisses me off, and I have to turn it off because I'm like, why did he just say that? I want to like the guy, but he makes me hate him because of the way he calls games now to this day. It's not even about what he did when he left at this point. It's about how he continues the information war, the perception war of the city of Toronto and Canada in the NBA on American airwaves to this day. And because, like I said, he's an icon from our history, people put a lot of weight into his opinion about things. I like that he stood up for us against Chris Bouchard. That was great. But I hear him doing the same thing that Chris does in lower levels also. Chris Bouchard just is out of pocket. Yeah, M. Jones saying, regardless, blessings to everyone. Appreciate the new day given to us. It's easy to forget. Yeah, it's all good, M. Jones. We allow for differing opinions here. If you love Vince, you want to honor Vince, I support you for that. It's just I'm not on board with it myself. But listen, I like Raptor fans that love Raptors culture, Raptors history, and are passionate about their team. And your passion for Vince Carter is respected and loved because in some ways, I just love that you're passionate for our team and our franchise. That's what's the most important thing. Let's not lose sight of it. Everybody in this world has such a hard time with disagreeing with each other these days. I want to show that everybody can disagree and be cool with it. M. Jones has great opinions and is not wrong. It is not wrong. I have my opinions, and we all can just get along. That's the best thing to do is show that example these days. Chris is saying, let's talk about Scottie or Alvin Williams for the nostalgia. Yeah, Alvin's awesome. Kelly said that his favorite player when he was a kid was Alvin Williams. He's just like me. My favorite player was Alvin Williams, too, at that time. I liked Vince, but I wasn't really like one of those guys who like got behind the best player on the team. I always liked kind of the unsung guy, and Alvin was that dude. Alvin was so clutch and important to us that he really was my favorite Raptor when a lot of people's favorite Raptor was Vince Carter. So, yeah, that's cool that Kelly said that too, that his favorite Raptor, he named a couple. He's named like Antonio Davis. I think he said Charles Oakley. He said Doug Christie, Muggsy Bogues. He's naming all the team around, and he said Vince, of course. But he said my favorite was Alvin. Alvin Williams was my favorite. All right, let's see. Cool Cat's here. Good morning, Raptor Freak Crew. Good morning to you, Cool Cat. Chris is saying only Lowry should have his number retired. That's it. Well, they're already showing their hand on who's going to get retired for the Raptors. It's the team guys that have not had their number replaced since they left. And how long has DeMar been gone? When's the last time we had a number 10 on our team? Yeah, we haven't since DeMar left. That is a symbol right there. They're going to retire that number 10. Nobody's going to wear it ever again. They're going to retire that number 7. It's nobody's going to wear that either. And there's 2 other numbers recently that aren't going to get worn ever again. And that's 43. We know that. And 23. 23 is not going to be worn again either. Watch. Those 4 numbers, all of them will be retired. Now, I can't tell you if Vince's number 15 will. In some ways, they would have done it already if they were going to. He's been retired for how many years now? He's eligible for the Hall of Fame. So in some ways, I don't know. I think that they're waiting. Maybe they'll do it after Kyle. They don't want him to be the first one. I know it. And Kyle may be the first one, and then they may do Vince afterwards. If they don't do Vince, I won't be upset. Trust me. But if they do, hey, they do. That's awesome. Let's see. Cool Cat saying retired jerseys: Kyle, DeMar, and Siakam, and Fred. 23 will be retired too. Watch. James is saying Vince didn't want to be here. I don't think he deserves the jersey retirement. Yeah, yeah. In some ways, you really got to watch out how you handle your exit. You know, in some ways, if you're going to be leaving a team, leave it on good terms and be professional about it and be awesome. In some ways, you know, you got to be the bigger person. In some ways, the fans may be assholes to you on the way out, but you need to be like, you know what? I really enjoyed my time here. Is well spent, and just like I'm on to new opportunities. Look at how Siakam handled it. Very perfect. Very, very perfect the way Siakam handled it. Lowry, very respectful and honorable towards the Raptors franchise the whole time since he's been gone. Yeah, these are the ways you got to do it right there. Fiercely saying G Leaguers beat the NBA rookies. It was interesting, not to say embarrassing. Pau Gasol looked hella annoyed when he called his first time out. Yeah, it was embarrassing. Those guys went and made a name for themselves. Everybody just expected the G League Ignite team with Detlef Schrempf to just roll over and lose in the first round. That's not what happened. They wrote their own storyline last night. And I was happy about it. It was kind of interesting. Even though I was rooting for Victor's team, seeing that underdog team come up and beat them, well, I started rooting for them by the end. James is saying, I would rather Kawhi. At least he got us a championship. Yeah, it's hard to do that, though. One season to retire a number two. Yeah, I don't know if he can do that. And once again, he's another guy that I would maybe recognize with the statue. That he's the kind of like you put the Vince Carter dunk championship statue with one of his dunk poses, and then you have Kawhi with the shot in another place. I don't think you retire jersey numbers for these guys, but you remember iconic moments with them with statues, just like that Kobe statue they just put out. Yeah, make something like that for those guys if you really want to commemorate them in the history in the years to come. When Kawhi retires, maybe we put a Kawhi shot statue outside our arena just to commemorate that moment. Because honestly, Kawhi was only here for a moment, and retiring his jersey, that's like for long-term longevity and time served to your team. In some ways, there's an unwritten rule. If you want your jersey retired, you better have played for that team at least 5 years. At least 5 years. If not, maybe even 10 sometimes. Yeah, seriously. I mean, Shaq cut it close. He only played for Magic like 4 or 5 years. They still retired it because he was so important to their history. Infamous is saying, salute, freaks. If Shaq jersey can be retired by Orlando and he did them dirty by going to LA, we can retire Vince. Despite the way I personally feel about him, he put basketball on the map in Canada. Yeah, and this is part of the reason why Vince is chirping up, because he sees this rift healed between the Magic and Shaq, and he's getting this. He figures, well, why can't we do this with Toronto? And he may be right. He may be very well right. In some ways, I may be one of the few people that's like, gross. But, you know, a lot of people will be very happy about it, too. And in some ways, I don't want to be a stinker for the party. If MLSE and the Raptors decide they want to honor Vince Carter at some point, I'll get behind it, even if it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really advocate for it. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, I love the LED court. I hope they use it for the All-Star game. They won't, unfortunately, but they'll be using it tonight. Yeah, they have it set up in the which one of the arenas? They have it set up in the Lucas Oil Arena and not in the Gamebridge Field House. And that's where the All-Star game is going to be, in the Gamebridge Field House, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's too bad. They only have one of those courts there. I was kind of hoping the Panini Rising Stars court would go all crazy with animations, but it didn't. It was just staying static. It's almost like I've been ruined now after watching the Ruffles All-Star Celebrity Game last night. I'm like, I want to see the court do crazy shit during the Panini Rising Stars. No, nothing's moving. There's just those regular logos that they superimpose over there, like Panini on the court, and that's it. I see them running over the Panini words, but it's not moving, and the court's not changing. Oh, well, a little bit let down. In fact, the Rising Stars court wasn't moving around like the Celebrity Game court. That kind of made me sad. Fiercely saying, back to our magnificent number 4. Exactly. Scottie B. Hope he has a blast and soaks it in. It's such an accomplishment to attend 3 years in a row. On top of it, be great. Yeah, I like the habit of him going to the All-Star weekend every single year. And, him being there for this year after the Rising Stars, 2 years of being on that way. That's fantastic. That is fantastic stuff for sure. All right. I lost my place in there. I want to make sure I find the right spot. Monique is saying Grady was on Shaqtin' a Fool. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think somebody said something about that on the stream the other day. Well, that was the Victor clip, wasn't it? Yeah, of course. Victor's gonna make people look like Shaqtin' a Fool sometimes. He's just gonna do that. James saying who's winning the dunk competition in 3-point? Well, right now, I want to pick Tyrese Halliburton because I know the NBA is all about hometown heroes. But if he's too tired from the skills challenge, then I don't know. Let me think about this real quick. For the 3-point shootout, maybe I don't want Lillard to win again. I don't think it will be him. I don't think it'll be Jalen Brunson or Malik Beasley. I don't think it'll be Donovan. It could either be Laurie, Carl Anthony Towns, or Trae Young. So if I'm really handicapping this, I say the odds-on favorite is Tyrese, with the second person maybe being Trae Young. Even though those guys are doing the skills competition before, they may be tired, but I don't think so. Maybe they'll be warmed up, actually, because they'll do the skills competition and then they'll come in and do the 3-point shootout. So I think the two favorites are probably Halliburton and Young. I don't know. Young's done this competition before, and he's never done well at it, has he? Maybe I shouldn't be picking Trae Young. Maybe Cat. Maybe Cat's smarter. For the dunk competition, I don't know. Mac McClung's magic is not going to be there tonight. I could see Jaylen Brown winning it just because he had the balls to do it as an all-star. And he probably has some really good dunks made. He's not like Jaylen Brown's going to do this competition tonight to embarrass himself. So I'm going to guess he's pretty prepared. And he's going to come out there and he might win himself, Jalen Green, or Jaylen Brown, sorry, just because he has star power. And he may have some really good tricks up his sleeve. I wouldn't do it if I was a superstar unless I was very confident that I had the stuff to win it, is what I'm saying. Because that's probably why superstars don't want to do it. Two superstars throw their hats into the ring. Well, this is going to be Michael versus Dominique, and somebody's going to lose. Somebody's going to lose, and they won't look right. And unless you don't both come back the next year and have a series where each of you go back and forth, one of y'all is not going to look as good as the other one. And that's part of the reason why the superstars just stopped doing the dunk competition at a certain point. Is because they didn't want to look bad. They didn't want to lose prestige on their legacy and their outlook and their reputation. Very, very important. Yeah. Let's see. Fiercely saying no for VC getting his jersey retired. Maybe a statue in Scotia Bank vicinity. That's it by far. Lowry, number 7. That's the one we'll be retiring first. James is saying Wemby 20-10 as a rookie, only going up from here. Yeah, he's only going to get harder to play. It's not like it's going to get easier with him at all. This is like the bottom level. And yeah, beat the Spurs while you can, because you're not going to be able to beat them very soon. Watch. Infamous is saying, if you watch the game, Victor's team was not taking the game serious. They were only going half speed and seemed disinterested. Yeah. That's the thing. If you go out there and work and you play, you can beat a much more talented team. That's just the truth of it. Some ways, Victor's team may not have been very connected. It seemed like those G League guys have worked together a bit, and they had their shit together. That was part of it, is that, some of those guys are on the same team and been playing together this year, G League Ignite. And that is kind of in some ways an advantage that team had over Victor's team, because Victor's team was all guys thrown together. Other than him and Bilal, they had played together. But Coach Pau Gasol is stupid, and he had Victor out there in the starting lineup, and Bilal came off the bench, and their minutes didn't match each other. There was quite often that Victor was out there and Bilal's on the bench, and Bilal's out there and Victor's on the bench. You didn't even utilize the teamwork built up between Bilal Coulibaly and Victor Wembanyama. You deserve to lose, Pau Gasol. You did not get your team up for it, and you didn't utilize the hidden pairings that are already on the team. And meanwhile, G League Ignite's running you off the court. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, James is saying, why isn't Mathurin starting for the Pacers? Doesn't make sense. Well, a big part of it is because of Siakam now. In fact, Siakam's taken a big piece of the pie from Benedict since he showed up. In some ways, he's not the most thrilled about Siakam showing up, I bet, because in some ways his production has gone down and his minutes have gone down also. There's no place in the starting lineup for Mathurin. He may have started at times here and there, but he's never really been a starter his NBA career so far. He came off the bench last year also. So this is, it may not make sense to you, but to the Pacers and Rick Carlisle, it does. They want him to be their backup, their sixth man, their scorer off the bench, and that's why that's his role. Fiercely saying great and not so great night for my Haitian brothers. Benedict winning MVP. Kai Cenat only playing 5 minutes and throwing a fit because he only got the ball once. Yeah, he was clowning out there and being silly. And some people were, it was entertaining. It was fun. What do you expect him to do? He's a streamer. He's going to do his whole circus just like he does on the stream. He's just a walk-in circus. He's going to bring a circus wherever he goes, Kai Cenat, with just craziness and entourage and just spectacle. That seems like his calling card. So, yeah, that makes sense. Nameless saying, now you see why I want Buzelis. Yeah, I remember you bringing him up in the past. And I've looked at him before. It wasn't the first time I'd seen him last night. But wherever he's at with his development and what he's doing, his confidence, he looks really good. Like my scouting spidey sense went off last night watching that game. And I'm like, this Buzelis guy is a shooter. And look at that length and how tall he is. Not only that, he gets after it. And he's a very smart player. In some ways, he has some similarities to Grady with his smarts on the court, I can tell. But he may be better than Grady because he's taller than Grady. Crazy. Yeah, all right, you want a dunk? I'm going to give you a dunk, Nameless, for putting him on my radar before and coming full circle and saying, yeah, this dude is good. And you were right, my paisan. Let's see. Cowboy saying later, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Have a great day. Got to go back to work. Cowboy, you be safe out there with Tada Services. Their cleaning service here in the greater Toronto area. If you need help anywhere around Toronto, call Bradley at 647-833-6844. They will do repairs of any kind. They will do equipment rentals. They will do flood restoration. They will do kitchens and bathrooms. They're handymen. They'll do flooring. They'll do painting. They'll do plastering. They'll get rid of your mold. They'll fix water damage. These guys will do it all. And starting as low as $89. Call Tada Cleaning Services, 647-833-6844. That's what Bradley's out doing today. Be safe on the job, Bradley, and get back to work, my man. That's right. Cowboy Isaac Campbell's going, bam, dap to the benevolent one. Fiercely saying 3-point shootout. It could be Dame again. Extra motivation because he knows he won't win the chip with the Bucks. So he wants to win something. That's what you're saying, Fiercely? The Milwaukee situation has gone downhill. So he wants a bright spot. So he's going to try and repeat as a 3-point champion tonight. Maybe. We'll have to see what the storylines happen tonight with the game. Of course, I'll be watching tonight. And tomorrow we'll react to Scottie's performance in the skills competition tonight with Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young. I'm excited about that. Nameless is saying, imagine a 7-foot knockdown shooter, plus Buzelis can do so much more than shoot. Yeah, it seemed like he was showing a little bit of his bag of tricks, but there's a lot more to unearth as far as things. I just saw how intelligent he was on the court, and he had a competitive spirit that was very strong too. M. Jones is saying, but this is an interesting conversation if Vince should have his jersey retired in Toronto. Oh, yeah, we do it. We bring it up all the time. We brought it up extensively at different times. I don't mind talking about it to a degree, but in some ways, I don't want to cheat Scottie for his All-Star weekend festivities just because Vince is getting some shine this weekend is partly why I was saying that. Let's see, which game garners more credit? A player that was a gatekeeper, so to speak, versus an accomplishment. Very interesting. Yeah, it is an interesting conversation, M. Jones. It's not as simple as like he's a dunk champion. We all loved him as kids. And he's just like something as far as that. That's the easy stuff. I can see why, people that, were kids when he was doing what he's doing absolutely love him because he's idolized in the child's eyes. In some ways, I was older already. I guess when I was working at the Air Canada Center, Vince was a rookie. I was around 23 years old. So I was in my early 20s when we had Vince. And I was in the arena too. So I was at the games all the time. I saw him up close and in person, almost all the games he played at home for the Raptors, because I pretty much was there the same time he was there. So I really was around the Vince Sanity very closely because I worked in the arena and I was at all the games. And so I know the feeling of what was happening at the time very well. In fact, when he won the dunk competition in Oakland, I was at Lord Stanley's mug in the back of the Air Canada Center with Stevie Roots having beers after work after a Leaf game, watching with a bunch of Leaf fans Vince kill that dunk competition and make history and say it's over and all that. It was amazing to be there. So it's a weird thing. In some ways, like, look, I look at it this way. I've said this before, and some of y'all will be like, oh, he's saying this again. I look at it this way. Vince made a very beautiful sandcastle on the beach that has intricate and beautiful his dunk competition, everything he built in Toronto. But before he left, he kicked it over and let the water rush it away in the tide. That's how I feel. He built something beautiful for us, but on his way out, he kind of kicked it over and he didn't let it establish or set. In some ways, the things that are happening with Scottie right now were set up by Kyle and DeMar. That they passed something to Fred and Pascal, who passed something to Scottie. Now, Vince never passed shit to anybody after him. He just took off. There was no culture that was built up and kept intact like Kyle and DeMar did. That's the big difference between Kyle and Vince Carter, is he built something that lasted after he left. And Vince didn't. Everything went to shit afterwards, and he left us in a really bad place. We were worse off when he left than when he came in. And in some ways, that's the way I will gauge a player is what is your effect on our team? Like, I get it. We were in a good place when he showed up. We were building up. But when he left, we were devastated and right back to ground zero. So I look at it that way. Kyle left us in a good place. I think Siakam and these guys, we may be having trouble right now, but it's not like that's their fault. And in some ways, they're rooting for us to do better. No, in some ways, Vince went to the enemy and started beating us in the first round of the playoffs the year after he left. So it's a tough thing. You're right. That argument is very interesting, M. Jones. And I don't mind talking about it. I'm just, we'll talk about anything. Fiercely saying, I mean, Scottie could have also tried the 3-point shootout. Yeah, I don't know. That might be a stretch. I mean, I wouldn't, if he wanted to do it, I'd support him doing it. But in some ways, I don't know how likely it would be that he would win it. It's not an easy competition to win. It's very, very hard. And even these guys that are such good 3-point shooters, sometimes they can't do the competition because it's a certain rep skill and a quick burst in a short period of time of that muscle memory over and over again. I mean, Bird used to practice doing it. That's part of the reason why he was such a king of the 3-point shootout. Craig Hodges, another guy that it was suited for because of the very quick grab the ball and shoot kind of motion that he had that was really like conducive for it. Some of these guys don't have the best shot for it, even though they're excellent 3-point shooters in the league, high percentage. But the pace of it and how quick and even the conditioning to do it, you get tired by the end of grabbing all those balls off the racks. That you have to, in some ways, you do need to practice it. You need to get those racks and figure out the timing and figure out how your pace is to get to all the balls. Because you see some guys take too long. They don't finish the last rack. And that is a bad thing in the 3-point shootout for sure. So I don't know. Scottie, if he wanted to do it, I'd support him. But I don't know if it would be very realistic he'd win. G saying, but Bazelis is someone whom I wanted too. I've seen him play. He's interesting. Yeah, Lithuanian. I mean, Jonas is familiar with him. I think he was at World Cup last summer. I don't totally remember watching Lithuania too often. I think we only played them once, right? They beat us, didn't they? Evelyn's saying like, and share, please. Thank you, Granny Evelyn. I appreciate that. Buzelis, yeah. Infamous is saying, I have a theory. I believe that Curry may lose on purpose to promote the WNBA. Just a thought I had. Well, in some ways, listen, the great thing about the 3-point shootout, it's really hard to fix. This is the great thing. It's a competition that is so pure that the NBA trying to fix it, the only way it happens is if Steph throws it or something like that. I think that Sabrina can beat him clean. I think that she's going to beat him clean, honestly. I think it'll be interesting. I think that you're right, that it does more for the WNBA if she wins. If she doesn't, well, in some ways, it's very high pressure. She's got like the whole WNBA league on her shoulders tonight. That, I think you're right. I think that it's better for the health of the NBA and the WNBA if he loses, if Steph Curry loses. But we'll have to see. The competitor in him is probably not going to allow that as far as like he's going to try his best. I don't see him pulling punches. That's not who Steph Curry is. Like, think about it. He's ultra competitive, and he's going to come out there, and this will be a pure competition. Watch. And well, I hope she wins. I am. I'm rooting for Sabrina, and it would be a way better outcome for the WNBA and the sports world in general if she beats Steph Curry tonight, for sure. Chris is saying, I will try and watch the Steph and Sabrina shootout. I have to think the best three-point shooter ever will win, but sad to hear Swoops attacking the record of Clark as a fraud. WNBA got to stick together. I haven't heard about that. Some people are upset about Caitlin Clark's record-setting game this week. That's interesting. They were interviewing the Las Vegas Aces at the celebrity game last night. They had Aja, of course, was one of the assistant coaches for Stephen A. Smith. And then they had a couple of ladies sitting in the court, Jackie Young and whatchamacallit, the passer, Chelsea Gray. And then they had Kelsey Plum, who was sitting at courtside, and they were interviewing her, and Caitlin just beat her record. And it was crazy. They're asking her, it's like, yeah, you saw what Caitlin Clark did this week. She beat your record. And when she was answering, you could see the pain on Plum's face when she was answering that she just lost a record to young Clark. But she said it's really good for the game. She's fantastic. We're wondering when she's going to come into the league, if she's going to stay another year, or she's going to come in and start playing with us this year. So everything, all the hype and the attention to people like Caitlin Clark is so good for women's basketball. And it's all very, very, very good stuff. I don't like hearing Cheryl Swoops saying this. In some ways, she's the most important women's basketball player ever in the history of the WNBA. And she's like Michael Jordan for that league. And in some ways, what she says matters. And in some ways, I don't know what she said exactly. So I won't like comment on this too much. But yeah, in some ways, that's no good. Keep it together. Stick together. I agree with that. Country Kong saying, Lex, for me, the Rising Stars game was wildly entertaining, including the G League Ignite players in a tournament-style format was genius. Watching Wemby and Chet playing hard not to lose was awesome. The sad thing is we never got that Chet versus Wemby matchup the NBA wanted to script right because the G League Ignite had some other ideas themselves. They wanted that final to be Chet versus Victor, but Mac McClung and his plucky little band of deadlift shrimpers came in and shrimped it up and kicked their butts. That's right. I think shrimp is a good verb for this because that's kind of how deadlift played back in the day. Scrappy, getting after it, energetic, always on the ball, and not lazy like Victor's team was. So they shrimped them. They shrimped them. They shrimped them. Yeah, that's what they did. They shrimped them. Yeah, it was a fun, entertaining event. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch the events last night, but the allure of seeing the LED show of that court made me have to tune in, and I was hooked after that. Once I saw that court and everything was doing and changing, I was like, all right, I got to watch this. And then later it was like I wanted to see Victor and see how he would do in that, and I was disappointed, but then very impressed with the G League Ignite. So, yeah, very entertaining Panini stuff, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, JP. Chris is saying, wait, is Doc actually going to be the coach? Oh, my fucking God. Hard to believe. Of course he is. The NBA is forcing him to be the coach of the Eastern All-Stars tomorrow. He will be there. So, Doc, you better play Scottie is all I'm saying right now. G's saying Scottie told Trey to take the floaters. Yeah, Scottie doesn't want to take the shots that he missed his rookie year at the Skills Challenge. He wants to let the weakness of that be for somebody else to handle. In some ways, there'll be more strategy figured out about how to attack this skills competition today with Tyrese Maxey, Scottie Barnes, and Trey Young divvying up the parts of the competition in the right way. In some ways, that where Scott was in that first one was just not smart. So we're going to do a better job of making sure he gets a part of the skills competition where he can succeed and get revenge, as he's put it. That's his whole thing. He's like, he's going to the skills competition today to get revenge, is Scott's own words. So, yeah, very interesting. Chris is, let's see, G saying, Scottie told Trey, to take the floaters. Fiercely saying, All-Star Game is the only event where it's okay for a coach to lose, so not expecting much from Doc Rivers if he stays persistent. Just looking forward to rooting for Scottie. Yeah, we just want to see the history of him getting his first All-Star appearance and rooting him on, as Toronto Raptor fans would, to our young guy, our face of our franchise. Fiercely saying, number 89, the NBA 2K ranking, he improved from which position? Well, it's points. It goes up. I think he was like an 87 before, so he got like 2 points. It went from 87 up to 89. And that it's an overall ranking for your players. Like the best players in the league are like 95. So the higher he gets to 100, the better. That's the way it works, Fiercey. So yeah, he got a 2-point bump up. I believe he was 87 at the beginning of the season. Now he's 89. And that's a good sign. Most saying Lex, Scottie's NBA 2K ranking is 85, not 89. Oh, okay. I'm not totally sure what the number was. I'm pretty sure he's 89 now. I saw him get bumped up. That little graphic they showed what said 89 on it. Like he was 85 before and he got bumped up. I don't know. I'm confused. Mo, I'm pretty sure he's an 89 in the NBA game now because that's the picture I saw yesterday. Fiercely saying, thanks, Monique. Country Kong saying, Bazelis did wonders for his draft stock last night. He did. He really did. He kept trying to hit the game winner until he finally hit it. With more time, he could be an athletic mix of Franz Wagner and Laurie Markkinen. Yeah, I think those are good comparisons. I think that Markkinen may be the better comparison. I don't know how his driving skills are like Franz, but he seems like a Laurie kind of body type. That could be interesting. Plus, also, he's so young. Buzelis is going to fill out and get some more muscle. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be very interesting. M. Jones saying, I honestly haven't seen all this putting down of Toronto stuff. Maybe I missed it. Well, part of it is M. Jones. He's doing it on American broadcasting. He's not doing it where we see it up here. And that's why I see it. If I watch another NBA game on stream and he's just involved in it and the Raptors are involved, I often hear him slighting us. So I've heard him do it at Summer League games in the past. I've heard him do it at ESPN games in the MSG. We're playing the Knicks, and he's calling the game for the state side. And I'll listen to their broadcast instead, and I'll be like, I can't. I got to switch it back to our guys because I would rather listen to Alvin and Matt than Vince Carter tarnish us. So it's that kind of stuff. Just listen to him when he's away. It's the same thing that we say about Sam Mitchell. Nice to our face, but two-faced, behind our backs, saying stuff that you would be like, what? Why did he say that? That's not necessary to say. And in some ways, it's like disrespectful. That's what I would say. Dana's saying water dogs have hair like human hair, not fur. Fur has more dander than and it affects allergies. That makes sense. M. Jones is saying, but yeah, his mother was indeed a cancer. I don't totally like using that word. She was a problem and a catalyst for all that went down. Mama's boy in a bad way. Yeah, in some ways, he was very much doting on her as far as like she was in charge. She was the manager. She was kind of directing him. In some ways, this is part of the problem with Vince's personality, that he was kind of told what to do instead of carving his own path, like Michael. I don't think Michael's mother was as involved like Vince's mom was and such a power broker around his career. In some ways, that's part of the problem is Vince was too passive with his career. In some ways, he was very good, very talented, very athletic, had the whole kit and caboodle to do stuff, but he didn't have that eye of the tiger. He didn't have a certain level of compete or I want to kill everybody like Michael did. He was too nice, too happy-go-lucky, and in some ways too passive. And that's part of it. Letting his mother railroad his career or take control of his career too much is a symptom of this. A symptom of this right here. Monique is bringing up some news and notes. DeLon Wright was released by the Washington Wizards and bought out, and he is now signed with the Miami Heat. So he is going to be a Miami Heat player for the rest of the season. I wish him well. I dropped him from my fantasy team recently. In some ways, I'm okay with that he's on the Heat now. So DeLon, have a great rest of the season. I hope you stay healthy. And in some ways, do what you can with the Miami Heat. Yeah, it's an interesting look. I mean, I guess Terry getting hurt recently has opened up something for them where they need another point guard with DeLon Wright. Kyle Lowry's gone. Terry Rozier's hurt. DeLon Wright signed from the Washington Wizards. Infamous is saying, I will say I'm not a huge fan of Vince unless we know Vince personally or in the room when these conversations happen. We truly don't know how all is speculation. Lex, you have extreme anchor bias. Oh, yeah. Well, I only have what I can perceive. I don't know what he's saying behind the scenes, but I do keep track of things. And in some ways, like I said, he's not a strong alumni attendee. And like I said, I've heard him say a lot of different shit over the years. And I thought it would get better after he retired, and it wasn't. I was so looking forward to making it up with Vince and being cool with him. And I was ready to do it when he retired. I was like, well, he's not playing in the league anymore. I'm not going to boo him at games anymore because he's not playing. I want him, he's not playing anymore. Let's put it to rest. But no, the problem is that after he retired and continued to do broadcasting, he continued to do this shit. So I'm sorry. I have my own ways of looking at things. In some ways, it matters to me respecting our team because there's a history of a lot of people not respecting our team. And in some ways, we're trying to carve out and get respect. Well, we got to stand up for it and be proud of ourselves and not let people punk us or disrespect us. And in some ways, I will say that Vince Carter has chronically punked and disrespected the Raptors. And it's not even like old stuff, it's new stuff too. It's new stuff. Anchor bias. Well, in some ways, he's catering to the American audience. In some ways, he doesn't expect us to see what he's saying. So he feels like he can get away with that shit. Well, we see it. We see all of it. We have the internet and we can know what you're saying down there, Vince, just so you know. We told Sam Mitchell this shit and he's finding that out now. TSN's phased him out more and more over the years because Raptors fans do not enjoy Sam Mitchell being in our broadcast. And that's what I'm saying. We know what you're doing down there, Vince. We can hear you. Just like we can hear Sam when he's on ESPN or NBA TV when he's saying his shit out of pocket. Cool Cat saying the gold standard of leaving is Lowry, DeMar, and Siakam. Yeah, in some ways, DeMar is not really the gold standard of leaving. It's a kind of an embarrassment to us and Masai. But the way he handled it on his end, yeah, a very difficult, toxic, bad situation that was absolutely difficult for him. DeMar's got a series coming out, Dinner with DeMar, where he's going to talk about mental health with NBA players. And it looks like his first episode, which is coming out on the 20th, is going to be with Draymond Green. This is weird. I mean, in some ways, he is the epitome of some of the stuff we're talking about with mental health issues this year because of his issues with getting suspended for violence in the league. We saw recently in a game with the Warriors and the Clippers, Norman Powell hit the floor very hard and got busted open bad. He has really bad stitches across his forehead right here. And in that game, there was a lot of acrimony with Draymond, and he was doing like really weird hand gestures, like he wants to like kill someone. And Nurkic is out saying that Draymond has not learned his lesson, that he is not any better than he was. In some ways, I had this kind of hypothesis about Draymond Green. He's emboldened by the NBA because they give him all these positions like announcing. They use him in the advertising. They've made him kind of a golden boy as a bad boy in the league. And he's kind of encouraged by them. They've made their own monster. In some ways, you guys have allowed him to get away with way too much on the court with the referees as far as regular players would get teched and thrown out. But you let him do whatever. Well, you created this monster, this problem. This guy's a megalomaniac, is an egomaniac, and he doesn't totally fully understand that he's violent and dangerous on the court. He thinks that it's a game. And in some ways, y'all are not getting the kind of results from his mental health break or his counseling. In some ways, I kind of disappointed in DeMar for putting Draymond in this episode with him because I think Draymond makes this a joke. Something you're talking about, DeMar, is very serious. But Draymond Green is not necessarily the right guy. Now, when I see the episode and I see what is said between the two of them, maybe I'll amend my opinion. But right now, Draymond Green is not the best spokesperson for mental health right now because honestly, he's full of shit. He's lying. He hasn't learned anything from his suspension this year. And he's continuing to do violent, dangerous shit on the court still. And I believe Nurkic. Nurkic should know that man punched him in the face for no reason. And in some ways, like Draymond's a dangerous player that maybe shouldn't be in the league anymore. But the NBA has so much tied up in their image with him and branding and being a possible future announcer that they made a monster. And it's their own damn fault. You know, if Draymond hurt somebody really badly after this suspension and the stuff that's happened this year, you are going to look ineffective with your punishments and what you're saying. Oh, he's rehabilitated. That's why we can bring him back. This was all a dog and pony show all along. We get it. That's how I look at it right there. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I don't think that Monique got rid of that by she hit that by accident, I'm sure. It would be completely justified to retire these 4 jerseys. Lowry, DeMar, Siakam, and Van Vliet. That's the one I like. Neil's saying if MLSE, hang on, doesn't retire any of the former Raptors, then we need to break away from these Leaf-centric organization. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I agree with this. In some ways, the LED court may be the split that we need to get away from the Leafs. Seriously, if we can't have a court with an LED court while there's a rink underneath it, well, maybe there is going to be a new building built for the Toronto Raptors and only the Raptors. I don't know. That may not be in the cards or financially feasible. But it's an interesting thing that may tear the NHL from the NBA as far as sharing buildings. In some ways, this would be better because the schedule could get better because we wouldn't have to schedule around so many concerts and hockey games. And in some ways, maybe the Raptors schedule would get easier because they would have their building ready for them to play in at any time. This may be a long from now future thing, like maybe 10 years from now thing I'm talking about. But I think the writing's on the wall that at some point, because the LED technology may not go with the rinks. Now, if they get it to fix, like that may be the technology advances. Oh, we figured out how to do the LED in hockey arenas also. That may be the answer. Instead of going and building a whole entire new arena, maybe the technology of the LED panels will be changed to the point where it can be utilized in a multifunctional arena that does hockey and basketball. The whole reason why they could do this in Indiana is because Indiana doesn't have an NHL team and there's no ice on their home court. So they can do the LED screens in Indiana this year, but they can't do it in MSG. They can't do it at Scotiabank Arena because there's ice underneath the court in our arenas. So that's an interesting thing right there. That's a very interesting thing. And maybe the LED court may push us away from being connected with the Leafs in the same arena. Yeah, I agree with this. I mean, I understand the Leafs have an amazing history, a long storied history, and there's a lot of Leaf statues out in front of our building in Jurassic Park. These guys are so like insecure about their standing in Toronto in sports that they had to put a sign up outside in Jurassic Park saying Maple Leaf Square just to try and claim it themselves. Motherfuckers, y'all know that that area out there was nothing that had to do with y'all until the Raptors started doing shit out there. I was one of the first people that came down there to Jurassic Park before they set up any barriers. And it was just a collective of fans that came down there and watched the game on the screen out in the cold. You know, that was Jurassic Park way before y'all labeled it Maple Leaf Square. But yeah, that's the insecurity of the Maple Leafs organization speaking through it. They know that's Jurassic Park. They can't put it up there because of legality reasons. So they put up a little sign up there, and then they put a bunch of their own statues out there just because they're insecure about the standing of popularity in the city between the Leafs and the Raptors. I get it. In some ways, I hear what you're saying, Neil. And yeah, we better get our honorees too, just as much as the Leafs get theirs. Chris is saying, last thing on Vince, I'm a fan of the team, not a fan of his. All the time, at the time when he played, he allowed his personal life to taint things, aka his mom. Laugh out loud. Loser move, in my opinion. A man's mom runs his life. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. In hindsight, I can say all that. And I'm exactly with you. I'm a fan of the team. I was a huge fan of Vince. I had the Vince Carter Club 15 shirt. I was in his fan club. I was a big time proponent and speaking his legend and building him up. And when he shat on us and turned his back, I mean, it really hurt. It really hurt. And it changed a lot of things about how we had been built up in the eyes of the NBA. It all went crashing down and we became a laughing stock again. And people put us down and said really disrespectful things about our team. Well, Kyle and DeMar brought respect to our team and it's stayed since. Well, right now it's a little shaky, that's for sure. But hopefully Scottie will continue the standard that's been handed to him by Freddie and Pascal. Yeah. CountryCon saying, Lex, watch the episode of the VC show where he had Kyle on. They talked about what Toronto means to them. They talked about Scottie. Vince kept us from being Vancouver and brought bottle service up north. Yeah, I mean, those are, listen, you can say that he kept us from being Vancouver, but that's not totally true. I mean, in some ways, he did save us. He had his part, but it's not just him. It's like a lot of different people that helped save us that were in the organization at that time. So, I mean, I get that. And some people will say that that's the difference, but I don't totally believe that. I think that Vancouver was a failed market in a lot of different ways, and Toronto was going to be a successful market no matter what. It wasn't going to matter if we had Vince. It could have been any kind of superstar that came up at some point and made a name for themselves. It's just that he was the one. So I will disagree. I think that the market for Toronto was going to be successful no matter what, and we were never in danger like Vancouver was, honestly, because we got to remember Toronto is the fourth largest North American city, behind New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. So in a lot of ways, our market was tapped for money. The NBA is not leaving. Vancouver was losing money. Toronto was never going to lose money. And we were never that. I mean, some people will say, yeah, we were in trouble losing our team, but I don't believe that, actually, if you really think about it. We really, really think about it. Toronto was never going to be in trouble. Some people would like to say that, and some people wished it, but the money's too good here. We're a cash cow, and the NBA is a business, so they don't make bad business decisions. And Raptors was always a good decision, and it never was a bad decision like Vancouver was, like that. Yeah, I mean, he brought bottle service up the north. Okay, I mean, I don't know if that's I mean, I guess that's an achievement or accomplishment to some people. To me, it's like, okay, that's cool. I mean, I should go back and watch that Kyle and Vince thing from that Vince Carter show clip. I have seen it, and I remember what he said somewhat, that he was very positive in certain ways. You got to understand, it's the two-facedness of it. I can hear him say nice things about us, and I can hear him say bad things too. James is saying, isn't a statue better than a retired jersey? Some would say that. Yeah, some would say that. And it's not about what's better and what's worse. It's what the correct honoring of what you be honoring for. In some ways, the jersey symbolizes the whole career and tenure of the time and good standing and everything like that. The statue is a moment. The statue can be a moment. That's why I'm saying that a statue can capture his arm in the hoop, or maybe the between the legs dunk. Any of those kind of iconic dunks should be what's out there, because that's really what he should be known for. It's not like he's known for playoff excellence. It's not like he's known for anything other than his dunk competition excellence with us. And I would honor him for that, just like I would honor Kawhi with the shot statue. But these guys don't have a body of work that can be honored overall, like a Kyle, like a DeMar, like a Pascal, like a Fred. And that's why those guys should get jerseys retired, and the other guys maybe should get statues. And you may be right. Maybe the statue is more prestigious. Maybe it is in some ways. Some people may even look at it that way, and that may be good, because in some ways the statues to me are flashy, and they're not bread and butter. The hard work is the jersey, and that may epitomize the difference in how I see these players we're talking about right there. Yeah, Blackhawk saying, when you watch the Pascal tribute, all you see is the Leaf retired numbers. It's awkward. Yeah, whatever. I mean, that stuff is all in the building, and it is what it is. It should be there. But that's what I'm saying. If we're not in the same building as the Leafs, well, we don't see the shit on our ceiling, do we? No, we don't. See, Blackhawk's saying C, not she. Yeah, I understood what you're saying. James is saying dunk competition used to be the shit back in the day. Not anymore. It's disappointing. I think Mac McClung brought a little bit of life into it, but I don't know. The names aren't that flashy. Jaylen Brown, thanks for trying to do what you're doing, but I mean, your competition is kind of like really underwhelming. I mean, the Mac McClung brand newness of last year may have been cool then, but he's going to be very stale this year. Watch. I can't see this kid coming up with amazing more dunks than what he did last year to make it even up the ante. I think he's doomed. If anybody thinks Mac McClung is repeating as a dunk champion tonight, you're crazy. You are crazy. I mean, if he does, all right, I'll eat my words and I'll say it tomorrow. Wayne saying so-called superstars not doing skills events is a negative tell on their egos. Pascal did not take minutes from Mathurin. He was coming off the bench before. His overall production has been inconsistent. That sounds right too. I mean, he was coming off the bench before Siakam, but it's definitely true. Like, if Siakam's eating up a lot of minutes, we know that man makes 40 minutes games. He got that award. Thank you, Nick Nurse. He may be eating into Mathurin's time just a little bit. He may be, just because there's, in some ways there's similarities there. In some ways, Siakam going to the Pacers may open things up for Mathurin coming back to Canada and coming to us, partly because of this. He was the person I was hoping they trade for instead of Bruce Brown. When they made that trade, I was kind of hoping that it would be either Nembhard or Benedict coming in return, but it was Bruce Brown Jr., which is too bad. It's because the Pacers really value their young Canadians. Blackhawks saying the dunk contest has been a perfect way to get to the All-Star if you were not voted in. Can be in the past, but not anymore. Not anymore. In some ways, the people that are in the dunk contest are just not up to snuff like exciting like names. It really isn't. Blackhawks saying, I'm down with Vince. I remember how the Toronto Sun dogged him, and the fan base does the very same negative treatment today. History repeats itself. Yeah, there was no internet craziness like there was now. That not like there is now. In some ways, that's true. The press and the Toronto Sun were awful towards him. You know, Doug Smith really did not help him. Seriously. And that's part of the reason why he stands for him so hard now, is because he realizes the damage he did with his articles. So he tries to make it up to Vince in all kinds of ways by trying to rewrite history and trying to make it look like Vince more and more wasn't a part of the problem, that it was all everything around him. And he was not really at fault. And that's Doug Smith cleaning up his mess that he made with the Toronto Star. So yeah, the papers were a big factor in the Vince Carter issues and the negativity about him and some of the stuff they wrote. In some ways, well, Doug Smith, you sold out Vince and his prestige and honor in Canada for your own fucking writing and viewership and shit like that and readership. Yeah, you did that. You did that for yourself, selfishly, Doug Smith. You wanted the scoop. You wanted to look good. You wanted to write that shit. You were irresponsible about it. And you hurt one of our franchise greats' legacy with our city while you're in the middle of doing that. Yeah. The people need to say the truth about this. That Doug Smith was a big factor in why we look at Vince the way we do today. Kareem's saying, Vince asked to construct a team around him and we failed. In contrast, he failed us with his poor sportsmanship, with not putting forth the effort. Nonetheless, both sides did wrong. Vince is a Hall of Fame Raptor. Yeah. And I want him to get it. I think that it's inevitable. The announcement yesterday, it's not that he's a finalist. This dude's going in, and rightfully so. He is a Hall of Famer. I don't dispute that. I can be very fair about Vince in certain ways. I think he's the greatest dunker of all time in the history of the NBA. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think his career is very interesting and impressive in certain ways, but in some ways underwhelming and really not what it could have been. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. But yeah, I won't disagree that the franchise wasn't very capable at that time. There was a bit of ineptitude. And this is part of the reason why I tell people to protect our front office right now. You know, we could drop the ball with somebody like Scott if we didn't have good front office like Masai and Bobby. So yeah, everybody who talks shit about Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster, realize these guys are doing their job correctly, and we need them around, or bullshit like what happened with Vince happens. Just so you know. M. Jones is saying, after watching that interview with Kessie, you can tell Scottie is beginning to get what it means to lead and set the tone. Let's go, Scottie. Toronto is ready for the smoke. There you go, M. Jones. I love it. I'm going to give you a dunk for awesomeness and talking about Scottie and this. Yeah, here we go. M. Jones getting the second dunk of 2024. I agree. This weekend's going to be great. And that interview with Kessie is so good. Y'all definitely check it out. There's some trash talking. You see Scottie playing the 2K. Greenies, baby. Greenies. Mo saying, W Stream Lex, keep at it always. Good times. Go Scottie. Go Raptors. A week off, but love my break. Yeah, the break is nice for us. I mean, for me, doing my streams, I mean, I'm still doing streams, but in some ways the work is different. It's a lot less like I'm watching stuff, but it's not as intense as watching the Raptor games and really hyper focused on every little thing so I can talk about it in the morning. But still, it is a break, and I'm enjoying it. Even if I'm not going to Cancun or someplace like a beach, like most of the NBA players, I needed this All-Star break too. But we know that I don't take a break on this channel. Every single morning I'm streaming, but it is a little bit different. It is kind of like a break, a little bit. Nameless saying, I knew Draymond was Ubazo. I told you. I know when someone is posse straight away. All right, these are Italian words. I'm not totally sure what they mean, but I like them. Thank you for the lesson. Wayne saying, my hope is that the Raptors take the time to enhance team cohesion and trust between themselves. We have seen players in the paint throw it out to shooters in game-winning situations, hoping they make it. Yeah, gelling. That's the big word. And Scottie said it again in his interview with Quezzy. He said, we are going to be good. It's just we need to gel. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And he's patient. It sounds like he's being very patient. And it also sounds like he really does like the recent moves that we've made around him and the new faces that are next to him. So, yeah, it's going to take a little time. The cohesion and the trust will come around the Raptors. It's just that we restarted and everything's out the window from the first half of the season. I think that most people are still judging us with that not in mind. That we've completely, I mean, I wrote a message to John Hollinger on Twitter because he's like, the Raptors team is not playing as well as they should be with the roster they have right now. I'm like, well, we just reset the whole team. They're all new and they have not gelled. And you got to take that into account. You can't just look at us playing teams like the Spurs and the Hornets and say, why are they playing them so bad? Well, this is a new team. We had a training camp a month ago. It's stuff like that. Oh my gosh. Infamous is saying there's nothing wrong with Draymond. It's a product of an 80-90 basketball logic. Okay. No, I mean, in some ways, I won't say there's anything wrong with him other than he's a psycho. The violence he's done on the court, if you really watch the mixtape of it, it's unnecessary and it's absolutely dangerous. And in some ways, I don't celebrate him as a great in the NBA. I don't look at him like, in some ways, he is like the modern day Dennis Rodman, but I don't respect him like I respect Dennis Rodman. In some ways, I see Draymond as not the defensive genius that everybody says he is. I don't see him. I don't give him the respect for the Warriors dynasty as some people do. In some ways, I look at guys like Steph, and they're much more important. In some ways, I think, like I said, the NBA made a monster out of him, and now they got to deal with him. In some ways, it's their own damn fault. And they encouraged him and all this kind of stuff, the whole idea of who he was. In some ways, they did the same shit with Dennis back in the day, and they got a lot of repercussions and bad stuff to happen. Whether Dennis kicking a cameraman Amos in the crotch, all kinds of crazy shit happened around him. Well, Draymond's a circus himself. And yeah, man, it's crazy. That motherfucker is a boss. And boss. 100%. Name is saying, that's like saying I beat my kids with a belt because it's a product of the 90s. It ain't cool, man. Draymond's a product of the 80s and 90s basketball logic. That's not totally true, though. These guys, listen, the guys back in the day, they may have fought hard and they played very physical and there was a lot of contact, but they were all looking out for each other to a degree also. They didn't want to hurt each other for lifetime, career ending injury. In some ways, the 70s basketball was worse. That was more like what he's playing. He's not playing 80s and 90s basketball. He's playing 70s basketball. He's playing Kermit Washington, I'm punching Rudy Tomjanovich in the face basketball. And that was before they cracked down on the violence, because that dude is literally hitting people and putting people in headlocks and throwing people around, doing dangerous undercuts, stomping on people with his feet. These are all unnecessary moves that are very violent, and they should not be on a basketball court. There's no justification for him stepping on Domantas Sabonis' stomach. There's no justification. He said he's worried about this guy attacking his teammate for putting a sleeper hold on Rudy Gobert like he did. There's no justification for any of this shit. Even losing his temper and punching out Jordan Poole at practice. There's no justification for that. In some ways, he is a monster that they built, and they're going to just have to deal with his issues until he retires or they kick him out of the league, honestly. Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it right now. Let's see. Infamous is saying, Nameless, stop buying into media perception and do your own research and thinking. I am. I've looked at the highlight reel of him and what he does on the court, and there's no justifying what he's doing. He's very much out of pocket. And it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. He's messing with other people's careers. And that's the problem I have with it. That's the problem I have with it right there. All right, let's keep going. Infamous saying, y'all can't have it both ways. You call the league soft and too Bush League. At the same time, y'all can't have it both ways. What do you mean? I don't call the league too soft. I don't think that's true at this point. I may have said that a couple years ago. The league is always morphing. Right now, there's a physicality in the league that is not soft. We can see it with the way Scottie goes to basket and he doesn't get calls and he's getting hammered. The physicality of the league, in some ways, Joe Dumars and the competition committee has said, well, we're going to make this league more defensive oriented with allowing more contact as the refs. They made this decision. I can tell. They started doing it in the last 2 years. Before there were a lot of touch fouls. Maybe the league was a little bit more soft like 2 years ago, but no, not at this point. The difference is there's a difference between playing in a physical way and playing in a dirty way. and Draymond plays in a dirty way. And that's just a clear cut of it. You can play a physical game and body up and use force and push into people, but when you start striking people or stomping people, that is dirty as fuck. I'm sorry. That is dirty as fuck. And we can disagree on this. Mo's saying, my bad, Fiercey. Didn't mean to hide your comment. It's all good. Fiercey's saying, Lex, we sense your disappointment in getting back Bruce Brown Jr. Well, I was talking about trades with the Pacers in the months before we made one with them, and my targets were the Canadian guys. I was saying we could get one of those Canadian guys. I'd be very happy we got Benedict or Andrew, but it didn't happen in the deal. The Pacers were stingy, and working out that Siakam deal it took some time. Not gonna lie, they'd been talking to them for a while, and they finally fine tuned it. And when we got what we got, we saw what we got: Kyra Lewis Jr., Jordan Wara, and Bruce Brown Jr., and 3 first-round picks. That was the kit and caboodle we could get from the Pacers. Unfortunately, it did not include a young Canadian. Let's see. Fiercely saying, no worries at Mo. I write so many it compensates. It's all good. I know that sometimes Mo will mod by accident, and it's not a big deal. Not at all. I can uncover the comment, and we can see it still. Wayne saying, don't care, but Vince was going up against MJ, Ewing, Kobe, Shaq, Arenas. Vince and Tracy weren't very bright. Kobe told Tracy he probably would be in the finals if he stayed in Toronto. Grunwald was a good GM. It's so cool to see Glenn Grunwald around our team still. Like, he just shows up every once in a while. I just see him. I think he's an advisor to our team still. It's kind of interesting that our old GM is still lurking around the Raptors as a special advisor. Yeah, he was at the game the other day, actually, Wednesday. He was there too. I saw him with Bobby Webster when he was about to give the ball to Scottie for the All-Star appearance. Yeah, I mean, they had a different era. And in some ways, I mean, every era's got their own issues. We can talk about the issues of LeBron during 2010s. We can talk about the new era we're going into with Victor. Yeah, there's different players that are going to be around the league that make it harder in certain ways. And I get what you're saying, but there's always going to be players that are superstars and they're difficult. And it's just that they change and morph over time. I love what you're saying here. That I didn't know that Kobe had told Tracy if he'd stayed in Toronto, he'd probably gone to the finals. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting. James is saying Prime VC and Prime T-Mac would have been dope. That's the big, regret between those guys. If we had not split up the pairing, if we had not believed the bullshit at that time saying that, you weren't going to get as good around Vince because he's going to overshadow you, Tracy. You have to leave and go to Florida. That's really what made him leave, is that he was so worried about being overshadowed by his cousin. But he realizes the folly of that, and he says he regrets it. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Tracy's so cool. It's so interesting how I have such a different opinion about McGrady versus Carter. I am not mad at Tracy. I know a lot of people booed Tracy when he came back, but you know what? Tracy's done enough things since that make me feel like, he respects his time in Toronto. He respects our team. And he's way better about it in the since. And that's a good example of how he could have came back around with me, Vince, is Tracy. If he had dealt with things a little bit more like Tracy has since. Tracy respects and honors his Raptors time. Now, in some ways, Tracy is not more a Raptor than a Magic. He blew up in Orlando. So I understand why he's more Orlando alumni. See, Vince is the opposite. And that's why it pisses me off. Tracy has more respect for our team, and he didn't even do anything on our team, barely. That's the crazy thing. Let's see. Country Kong's saying, Lex, with respect, you have to visit Vancouver. It's truly a beautiful city that is easily on par with Toronto and Montreal. The average income is twice Memphis. You don't think Vince was the difference? No, I'll tell you what the difference is. And they talk about this on the Grizzly Truth, that documentary that Kat made. The difference is that Vancouver has too much competing stuff for what they do out there. In some ways, Toronto was a market that was going to be more conducive to get people to go to the arena because there's not as much outdoor activities to do. The people in Vancouver don't like going to sports. They like doing sports themselves. So they're out bike riding and mountain climbing and skiing and doing all the great amenities of sports around their city. They want to go to the arena inside and sit inside and watch professionals play basketball, especially a sport that's not really that interesting to them in general in that area. If there were basketball fans out there like Tom Duke, they're mostly like Seattle Supersonics or Portland Trailblazers fans. That was the other part of it. was that market was so jammed up at that time with the Sonics and the Blazers right across the border that the Grizzlies didn't really have a fighting chance because there were such close, established, historically cheered for teams in Vancouver as the Sonics. So the competition of the outdoor sports that can be done that they'd rather do than go watch themselves and support a team that quite honestly wasn't winning. So it's not like it's attractive to go see. Yeah, in some ways, the market's just way different than Toronto, and it's not as conducive. In some ways, people here get behind new fads, and they really get like into it, like we did with the Raptors. I became a Raptor freak right away. I'm sure there were Grizzly freaks too, but in some ways, what I've just described, and the other nail in the coffin was Steve Francis. It's not about Vince saving us; it's about Steve Francis killing the Grizzlies. When he refused to go to their team when they drafted him, he killed that team straight up. And that's what that documentary says in the Grizzly Truth. That Steve Francis, ever since he said, I'm not going to Vancouver, it all went downhill after that. The way that the league perceived that team as slighted it, put it as a way below second class, like very bottom of the league, it had no chance at that point. The prestige and the outlook and the perception of it was destroyed by Steve Francis. That's what actually did everything, was Francis refusing to report, and it just spiraled into more and more disrespect and bad stuff, less people coming, and boom, you lose your team. The Memphis market will support that team way better than Vancouver. It doesn't matter if they have more money in Vancouver. They didn't want to spend it on the NBA. And even if there's poor in Memphis, they will go to the games and they will support it. That was part of the problem. Nobody went to the games in Vancouver. And that's what it was right there. Meanwhile, Toronto was selling out during expansion years because people wanted to go see the newness of it. Well, the newness out there wore off quick with the losing, and Steve Francis put that nail in the coffin at the end. So, yeah. No, I don't think Vince was a part of the factoring in, but in some ways, I could tell you it could have been Marcus Camby. It could have been Tracy McGrady. It could have been Damon Stoudemire. It could have been any of those early Raptors if they stuck around and gotten anywhere. They could have been the factor that kept things going. It didn't have to be Vince. It could have been any one of them. Marcus Camby, it exploded and stayed on our team instead of getting traded for Charles Oakley. Might have been him. It could have been Tracy if we had not had Vince here. So you can't just solely say it's Vince that saved the Raptors. That's not true. The market of Toronto saved the Raptors and continues to make it here. It could have been any X name. It could have been whatever name. It really was. The market of the Raptors, the Toronto was going to win either way and be good either way. Paul B's here. Good to see Wisconsin checking in. Paul B saying, mad respect for Scottie Barnes becoming an all-star. So ready for a long future of him leading our team. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Scottie, you're awesome. Soak it all in. Enjoy yourself. Smiles all around. I see you're with different friends of yours already in Indiana. In fact, let's go look at the Instagram stories real quick because they've got interesting stuff on them. We got Mr. New York City in Indianapolis also. He was at both the events last night taking pictures. There's a picture of him at the Rising Stars court. And then there's a picture of him backstage with a friend. And he's coming in. He's showing like the banners of the crossover event where he's involved, but he's not going to be playing. There's the Starry fan interactive section that he's taking pictures of it. The floor looks crazy. It's an LED floor, you can tell. Then there's some sort of crazy Starry soft drink mascot that's got all kinds of crazy lights and things all over him. He's weird. Then we see Marquise was enjoying watching the kids do their handles in these games at the All-Star weekend. He was kind of like judging them for their little moves, juke moves, and their dribbles. It was kind of funny. He's looking at that. And then there's this interesting seat with all the teams that won championships around the Larry O'Brien. You could go sit in it, but I don't like the picture, and I'll tell you why. Because these jackasses, all right, first of all, the Raptors' name is on there, but they put it underneath the chair so that when you walk up, your feet walk on our name of our team. If that's not on purpose, I can tell the NBA is trolling us all the time. And then meanwhile, they put all the other teams on the wall or around us, but they have us right at the foot of and they didn't even put the name in the right color. It's blue. Why is the Raptors name in blue, first of all? And why is it where you put your feet when you sit on the chair? That's all very calculated. Trust me. That is all very calculated. Just like the stupid ass 46 jersey on our schedule on the NBA.com. Let's see. He's also got pictures of him at the LED court for the celebrity game. So Marquise was soaking it all in. He went to both events last night and just enjoyed himself immensely. He's saying if you prayed about it, then there's no reason to worry. When the time is right, God will give you what is yours. There you go, Marquise Noel. You keep going. Dennis Schroeder has got his 21 drip on blast. And also, I want to just tell you guys, Dennis won a major award in Germany in the last couple days. And because he's in the NBA and he's busy with his NBA schedule, he couldn't get the award. So his mother and his brother accepted it on his behalf. He has won the German Male Athlete of the Year in Germany. And that was the award that his mother and his brother accepted on his behalf over in Germany recently. Yeah, I'm still going to do Dennis Schroeder stuff from here time to time, guys. Just so you know, he's still somebody from this year that's important. And I'll just talk about him from here time to time. I see a picture of Scottie Barnes at the Gamebridge Fieldhouse posted 21 minutes ago, walking into the building wearing a hoodie and sweats. Be grateful. Today is your day. Now, Batia's got a picture of him with Vince Carter at the Hall of Fame announcement. He's happy about his guy. Day one, he's putting him on blast. I know Nab probably doesn't have the same opinions as I do with some of our guys like Nick Nurse and Vince Carter. But hey, Nab, you're a better man than me, I guess. We'll just have to say that. Yeah, there he is, even with Jalen Rose, who won his Panini Rising All-Stars. Jalen, your hair looks ridiculous. Let me just put it that way. Jalen Rose, just give up, man. We understand you're wearing like a mop on your head. Come on now. Come on. We understand what's going on there. All right, there's your Raptors Instagram stories. Yeah, it's all about the All-Star weekend, man. Yeah, it's all about that All-Star weekend. That's right. All right, let me see. What else have we got going? And we'll finish up the stream soon. Fiercely saying, special alert. Ellen Schroeder just posted a Valentine's Day vlog with Dennis. I'll go watch it right after the stream. I missed their vlogs. Okay, cool. So Ellen's put content out on her YouTube channel just now. Fantastic. I missed that. In some ways, I want to see what she's posting after post Raptors. Hopefully everything's cool. But yeah, I'm really sad about how things went with the Schroeder family. But it is what it is. And things are the way they are. That's just how it is. Country Kong saying Steve Francis refused to play there. Imagine Vince did that. Sharif, Jason Williams, Mike Bibby, Byron Scott, Big Country. In the year 2000, they had multiple NBA stars, and we had Vince. We had more than just Vince. We had Charles Oakley. We had Antonio Davis. We had Muggsy. We had Dell. We had Tracy. We had a lot of different players on our team. If you're going to say Mike Bibby and Byron Scott are stars. Well, I'm going to start saying the stars that we had around Vince also at the same time, like Kevin Willis. If you're going to go like Big Country as a star, I'm going to say Kevin Willis is a star then too, if you've lowered the bar that far. No disrespect, but yeah, Steve Francis, Vince could have killed us. Yeah, if he had refused not to come to Toronto, it would maybe had the same effect, but not as strongly, I don't think. You got to understand, there weren't a lot of people on the side of Vancouver pushing it. Maybe Stu Jackson, maybe a couple of people around the team, but a lot of people were half-hearted about that team and putting excellence into it. And, well, you got the results you got. In some ways, some people have wondered, like in the Grizzly Truth, did Stu Jackson not try as a GM to fail that team on purpose? Because some of his draft picking and some of the moves that he made were really bad, like absolutely bad. And it was almost like he was sewering that team from the inside in some ways. Now, he wouldn't admit that. And he's come out and said on the Grizzly Truth that he tried his best, maybe just made poor mistakes. But yeah, the bad GMing of Stu Jackson is another huge reason why the Grizzlies failed and had to go away. Is they absolutely were horrible with their moves, their draft picks. And you bringing up that list is kind of comical to me because honestly, they were one of the worst drafting franchises in the history of the NBA whole entire history. And that may be a big difference right there. Isaiah was making good draft picks and building good capital and team capital as far as players on our roster. The Grizzlies were failing left and right, and they really didn't do well with their moves or their drafting. Trust me. Yeah. Kareem saying Ben's air ball dunk was at first. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. He had a couple of like little moments where it's like, oh, he probably wished he could have that back. M. Jones is saying there was a Glenn Grunwald sighting in the new open gym for those interested. Yeah. Yeah. He's in the new open gym from yesterday. That's what I'm saying. He's around our team right now. I can tell he's been in our arena a lot at times. And it's just interesting to me that he's back around at this time. I met Glenn Grunwald when I worked there 25 years ago. He's a very nice man. He gave the time of day to a lowly sub maker like me, and we actually talked some basketball for about 10 minutes. So he's a very, very nice guy. And he's not one of the GMs in the Raptors history that I look down on. He actually did a fairly good job during his tenure when he was running our team. Kareem saying, I hate the name Glenn and Grunwald. You don't like him? He's all right. He's all right. Like, I've met him in real life. He's a pretty nice guy. Seriously. Wayne saying, Arena said he was intimidated with Vince's talent, but learned Vince was lazy with his talent and didn't grow apart from dunking. The awe he had for Vince, he overcame by working his ass off, according to Gilbert. I can see this as all being real. You know, Gilbert, I don't like listening to him. Sometimes he says crazy shit, but this sounds like this is on point. This sounds like this is on point. I mean, you could tell. You could tell. M. Jones is saying, understandable about Glenn Grunwald. It's Rob Babcock is the name that you guys should hate. Seriously. Rob Babcock was the worst GM for us, and sad. Rest in peace, Rob Babcock and his family. But he was really the worst GM we ever had. Really, really was. M. Jones is saying, big respect to you, Lex, for enduring the VC talk. A good way to shut the door on VC history. Either way, man, listen, in some ways, a lot of what I say about Vince Carter comes from pain. It comes from the pain that he did what he did to us. It really hurt. And in some ways, that's all it is. It's my pain still speaking. And in some ways, when he reminds me of the pain still to this day with some of the things he says, it's hard for me to forgive him and turn the other cheek like a lot of Raptors fans have. That's just how it is for me. I wish it could be the other way. Honestly, I want to be on good terms with him in my own head and how I feel about him, but I'm not. I'm not. And at this point, there's so many great Raptors history after him that I'd much rather focus on that and celebrate those heroes and the guys that did it right, like the guys we're talking about. And like I said, I feel like Scottie is going to be in the category with Fred, Pascal, DeMar, and Kyle, and not in that category with Chris Bosh and Vince Carter by the end of things. That is something that I wonder about too, is that I don't want Scottie to be like Vince or Chris Bosh. Trust me. We want him to be like Fred. We want him to be like Pascal. We want him to be like Kyle. That's who we want him to be like. Kareem saying Vince Carter's jersey should be up in the Raptors. Great stream, Lex. All right, this is a difference of opinion, and that's what we allow. Difference of opinion here. We're all Raptors freaks. We all love the team, and our passions for the team is what matters the most to be here. And we can just differ in opinion on other stuff. That's fine. All right, y'all, get ready for your Saturday night NBA All-Star night. It'll be a dazzling floor for the events tonight. Let's go, Scottie and team All-Stars, Tyrese Maxey, Trae Young, and Scottie Barnes. Get that win in that competition. I want to see y'all win the skills competition tonight. Represent the Raptors right, Scottie. I know you will. Yeah, and he got a new dog, just to remember. And there's a really cool clip with him and Kwesi playing NBA 2K for steak. Definitely watch that clip. If you have not seen this yet, you got to see it. Yeah, I don't shop at no LBCO is what Scottie said on there. It's a couple of really fun comments and from that clip that they're good for using later. Watch the New Blood episode of Open Gym that came out last night, centering around the Utah Jazz guys who just showed up, Oshai Abaji and Kelly Olynyk. Always a good watch. The Open Gym, you're doing a good job, Jeff. Your last few have been fantastic, great, positive Open Gym pieces. I appreciate you that for it. And it kind of making up for you missing on the assist franchise record earlier this season in the Detroit game. Kelly Olynyk is nearing signing an extension with the Raptors, just so you guys know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We have more All-Star events coming up. Vince Carter has been a finalist for the Hall of Fame. That's the next thing. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back tomorrow for a reaction to Saturday night, All-Star Saturday night, and the events tonight. Hopefully, Scottie is winning the skills challenge, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. All right. I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your day. All right. I got done just before noon. Perfect. And Raptor your day. Do it the right way. Scottie, we love you. You're such a great role model for the kids. I love your new commercial with the trade school where you're on Jeopardy and you got like 10,000 points. And Jack Armstrong's like, Scotty, how do you know so much about the trade school? He's like, well, I just know that if you do this and this, you can get this money in plumbing school or in drywall school or this. Scotty, you're just awesome, man. You keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it right. And I don't doubt you, man. I know you're going to get all your dreams come true. And going to the All-Star weekend is one of them. And pinch yourself because you're going to be involved in it tomorrow. And you need to soak it in and really, really keep striving for more goals and getting those dreams fulfilled, because you have a lot you can accomplish in the next decade or so of your life. And this is just the beginning of it. We love you, Scotty. Touch grass while you're in Indiana if there's no snow on top of it. And I'll say just we're here sharing the love to you and trying to be the positive Raptor fans that support the team through the thick and the thin, the development, the ups and downs, the newness, and all the things that are going to go through the learning curve and the growth. Well, we will stand by you as positive fans and give you allowances to get better and better. Unlike some of those toxic fans who are going to talk out of their ass and their hot takes and their stupid shit. Yeah, we'll be the real ones beside you, behind you. All right, my man? So have a good time. Enjoy it. Soak it all in. Make the memories. And stay safe and stay happy. And I'm so happy you got a new dog, Cece. Very, very cool. All right, y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And join if you feel like it. Membership does have its privileges being a member of the Raptor Freak family. All right, y'all. Love y'all. And I'll see y'all tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Reaction stream to All-Star Saturday night. Let's go, Scotty. Let's go, Scotty.